Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Blue Otter Draft League. We are in our seventh week, I believe.
Yeah, last week of the split. Actually, I was kind of
Yeah,
surprised to see that when I went to check the schedule. I was like, "Wait, is it really it? Is this it?" I
yeah,
guess it's it though.
it's been going so fast. It's kind of insane to think about. Next week is our gauntlet and playoffs, right? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be pretty exciting for our last match. We have two of the best teams in Sapphire going head to head. So this definitely should be an exciting match.
yeah. In terms of stakes, there are certainly matches with more at stake going on because there are still a lot of teams who are trying to compete for the playoff spots. Dragons and Honeycombs, both in Sapphire, will be competing for that sixth seed. Theoretically, Typhoons and Ronin as well are there competing for that. Meanwhile, in Ruby, you have a whole heaping of teams who are very close around fourth through sixth. That one of them is not going to be able to make it, and it probably will be Shrooms. But we have to accept that that is what reality is. Sapphire is going to be pretty competitive, but for us, we're going to be watching our top two teams that we have been following throughout the split, Wizards and Raiders. Raiders have been having a rough go of it recently, picking up a few losses under their belt. Currently 4-2, the Wizards 6-0. But the draft is very much cooking right now as the Raiders have picked up the Syndra B1 into the mid lane response of Victor, and the Caitlyn picked up for Master. Not too shocking to see that as something Master would like to play. And the Pantheon will be the lock-in here, or at least be hovered. Not a bad option, but I'm interested to see where they send it, because it is a flexible champion.
And an interesting thing to note about the standings, Raiders have already locked in their position as first seed no matter what. Currently 6-0.
Wizards.
And even if they lose, the best that Raiders are going to do here is 5-2 to the 6-1 of Wizards. So, sorry, so Wizards are going to be locked in as a first seed. However, with Skeletons tied up and Ronin only needing one win to tie, it does mean that Raiders need this win to try and secure themselves second seed. Otherwise, they're fighting for a potential third or even fourth, depending on how the next week the rest of the games go. So there are still stakes to the match. It's not like this is just, oh, well, Wizards already have first seed, maybe we knock them down a peg. There is very real seeding stakes at the end of this, and for Wizards, they're just trying to get that flawless season.
Yeah, Wizards are trying to complete the flawless season here, getting that 7-0. And I will say, I did spread misinformation on the internet. I forgot that the gauntlet is available for all 8 teams. So theoretically, all teams are still alive. But can you really say that the Snakes and Falcons are teams that are alive here at the end of the split?
Hey, look, we're looking at the Miracle Gauntlet run, all right? They just have to beat Honeycombs, Dragons, and one of Typhoons or Ronin.
Yeah, it's that easy. Just
that easy.
Just start winning.
Just beat everyone.
Just beat everyone. It's very simple. We do have the Cassante and the Gwen both picked up here. Relatively solid picks. Now we're moving on to bans. Supports are definitely going to be on the chopping block. Interestingly, Raiders have saved their 80 carry pick for later in the draft. Kind of surprised that they didn't pick that up once they saw the Caitlyn. I wonder what they're planning, or if Enders is going to surprise us with a little bit of Syndra bot lane.
Hey, I'm the Syndra bot merchant, so it would be very nice to see. We also do have potential aggression, right? We have a lot of already aggressive champions. I wouldn't be shocked to just see the Ashe, sort of that classic Caitlyn matchup, knowing that you already have the Pantheon, the Syndra, just sort of rounding that out. And Wizards seem that they're just chilling. Normal ass team comp. They got the Cassante, they got Control Mage mid, they got their Caitlyn, they got their proactive jungler, and we'll see if they end up with an Enchanter or a Engage support. I imagine they're probably gonna go with a. I'm wondering if they end up going for the Enchanter or if they just double down on the Engage, because they already have a lot of range. I'm wondering if they want to really lean into that with something like the Janna, or if they want to just keep the the Hecarim support pairing alive, right? Go for something like the Leona that they might aggress on. So not the Ashe, the Jhin, trying to answer some of that range. And
Yeah.
I imagine that we probably don't see the Pantheon support, knowing that we still have support counterpick for the Wizards. I imagine we're probably okay sending that Gwen top, that Pantheon jungle, and going for a bit of a stronger pick. The Leona would also take it away from Wizards, leaving them with not as many of the sort of two major engage support options, and the Nautilus and Leona both taken away.
Yeah, I will say, I would kind of hope that the Wizards. I know you were talking about picking up an aggressive engage jungler to go with the Hecarim and the support, and I guess that's what the Wizards are kind of considering. But I wouldn't mind an Enchanter just because it would enable Hecarim to go crazy. It would enable Cassante to do insane things. But this is not so bad. I do think this is pretty solid overall. And it definitely, I think the Poppy response into the Rel is a heads-up decision. And it will also sort of keep the Pantheon at bay, and even the Gwen, at least a little bit.
Yeah, and it does make a lot of sense, right? You see all this hard engage. You don't really need to match as much. You already have the range. Making sure that Rel is not going to be able to get that big crash down, making sure the Pantheon is not going to get that big shield slam, is going to make things a lot easier for your Victor and your Caitlyn to sort of sit back, just keep the poke battle up. And inevitably, when you do go in, you have a lot of ways to do that, right? You can knock the front line back with Poppy. You can go in, try and find a flank angle with the Hecarim. Cassante can just do Cassante things whenever, right? Shove people over the wall, go in, tank a bajillion damage. So overall, I think Wizards definitely showing why they're first seed, right? They've just had very consistent drafts all season. Maybe not the spiciest, but things that all make sense, things that are all very cohesive, and I think we've seen it once again.
Yeah, however, consider that Boat Chicken has declared in chat, Kate just got a massive nerf, Wizards lost. Look, can you disagree with such expert analysis? Me personally, I don't think I can. I think that I want to believe in the Wizards. Not the Wizards, the Raiders. I think it would be good to see the Wizards take a hit this late in the split in the season. You know, level them out a little bit. And I am still a part of the only team that has invited me to their server are the Raiders, so I have to support them. Not biased, by the way. I would never be biased towards any team. But I do think that if I'm looking at my entertainment, I think that the Raiders comp is more entertaining than what the Wizards have. So for my personal entertainment, I hope the Raiders pull it together and go crazy. But I do think that the Wizards just have a really solid comp. So it's going to be a tough match for both teams, I would think. It's going to be a close one.
Yeah, but we'll have to see. I think for right now, we're going to cut it to a short break. When we come back, we will be on the Rift for Game 1. And I'm expecting to see some fireworks. Alrighty, and we're on the refs. Welcome to game one, everyone, of our match versus the Raiders and the Wizards, two of our top teams in Sapphire. Already starting out, some people walking towards the soft side. I see Never Saw and Spartan walking together, and I'm not surprised. There's a lot of damage that can be done with that Pantheon level 1. However, knowing that it's the jungle, probably wants to take that Q for the clear, so probably not going to be any fancy footwork just yet. Maybe walking in for a ward, but other than that, I don't see any real threats coming out. Neither of these teams have any insane engage, like a Nautilus or a Blitzcrank, or anything that they could really use to put pressure on the other in a level 1 situation.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah, no real huge pressure here, level 1 for either bot lane, really. Aside from, maybe Caitlyn just gets some stray auto attacks. Oh, I never saw. Gonna get a ward down, and we'll see Luke up on the top side. That gives him a little bit of info, but they also, the info is returned because they do have a ward on the Raptors there, and likely saw Spartan on that bot side. So nothing too major learned, nothing too major gained for either team, really, in terms of knowledge the other doesn't have. They both know that the junglers are starting on one side relative to the other. So we'll have to see what the Hecarim is going to decide to do. I think Hecarim and Pantheon both have capabilities of making plays relatively early. Okay, Boulder's setting up for the level 2 here. Gonna see what they are trying to do there. If 21 and Master can match it. Looks like they will, I believe.
Yeah. And I think they could have pushed it for the level 2, but having to step out of the bush and show that you're already dismounted sort of, it gives Master and 21 the sign that it's like, okay, we know that Boulder wants to go in. We know exactly what they're trying to do now. You're not slick with it. So having to walk out for level 2 before you get the cooldown, and then obviously you need to wait once you use the crash down. So not a lot. Some good damage, though. Ionder's doing a really good job using these force shots to put pressure down, as well as the bouncing grenades. So already hopefully forcing out some potions, just some general resources here is going to help a lot, especially if you go into like an early scuttle fight, knowing that Hecarim and Pantheon both want to be very aggressive. You can see Spartan flashing in. Reaper was very safe there. I don't really know about that one, and not having the flash on Pantheon going into this is certainly a decision.
Yeah, that is a befuddling play. I think, maybe if Neversaw had set up like a Scatter the Weak or a stun of some sort, maybe that could have converted into something, as Cake is going to look to potentially fight this out very low.
Yeah, has to be careful. See, Batman lands the Q3, but not going to. The Grasp just putting in so much work for both of these top laners. You think one of them has a really big upper hand, both of them take the Grasp proc, and then they walk away, and it's not that big. However, no potions anymore, and Spartan is on the top side. So if Cake can play this well, call Spartan up, they might be able to capitalize on that, but it does look like Spartan's just going to be going for the full clear. Going to grab the Wolves, probably going to grab the Scuttle, and either take a gank or a back, but Luke is already pretty far ahead in terms of jungle clear. Did a full clear into Scuttle, didn't worry about a gank, still has that Ghost up, so going to be running back towards the top side, potentially going for the counter, or something that happens if Cake decides to push a little bit too aggressively.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things as Hecarim you have to, if you decide not to go for an early play, you might as well just sort of power farm, sort of play the Nocturne kind of role of just looking to counter-engage on a gank, as knowing that CB Batman is a viable target here, and having vision on Spartan, they do send Luke up there to just kind of hang out, as Ender's taken very low on a trade here. A summoner was burned. I believe that is the barrier was burned by Enders. I wonder how that happened, but in either case, that is just more pressure for Master in 21.
Yeah, and going with the lethal tempo, I'd imagine it was a good like headshot reset combo with a Q. Probably put Enders really low. Put some threat, especially because of how hard it can be to stack lethal tempo on Caitlyn early. Usually you need some of those trap resets to actually get those enough autos to stack the lethal tempo without taking most of your health bar. And the fact that Master still has a potion tells me that maybe Enders and Boulder weren't respecting either the Steadfast Presence or the traps or the the net. So it's one of those things when you're playing against Caitlyn, you have to really understand that, like, it's okay to just give some plates. It's okay to give some value. Oh, so much damage there. One Cake doesn't want to flash, knows that CB Batman has that Q3, maybe one more auto, but right on time, gets the level up, and is home safe, but still has to be a little bit worried. Gonna have to be forced to use the TP back. But Wizards with full priority on the bot side of the map, gonna pick up a dragon, full priority in mid, now TPing back with a reset and a CS lead in the top side. Already doing so well. You can see these micro advantages starting, already 500 gold ahead at 5 minutes, and a dragon up. And probably just gonna grab some camps, but can already see Luke looking back towards that top side, potentially going for the grubs, and you can see both supports already rotating up, now fighting the top side, and the all-out comes from CB Batman, looking for a lot of damage onto Wanquake, but flash forward from Spartan, gonna be able to get it. The Needle Storm just launching so many, and the Execution Spear from Spartan is gonna pick up first blood for the Raiders.
Yeah, but here's the thing, now Luke is just gonna start the grubbins, even if just to get one, it's a huge win. Denying that 3 grubs from the Raiders is never saw looking for a fight.
Yeah, taking a lot of damage. Luke doesn't have the ultimate yet, doesn't have the Onslaught of Shadows, so is going to have to run away. But not having to use any summons is a pretty big deal. A over-aggression from Juan in the top side.
Yeah,
Let's
21
kill.
21 burned both sums?
Yeah, I imagine Juan was probably going for plates, and 21 just, like, ran up with that Steadfast Presence, probably Flash E ignited into the wall to kill Juan. Juan was very low, so... But yeah, probably thinking that they were safe. But that Poppy can run you down, already going for the Winged Moon plate, so probably gonna just see that classic Deadman's.
Yeah, would not be too surprising to see that. Right now, though, 1-1, Boulder looking for something, but yeah, 21 is here, so... Yeah, lane's crashing, 21's here. They'll get some damage into the rel, maybe a lot.
Maybe a little bit too much. Forced to use that curtain call just to get the cover fire. But unfortunately, Boulder isn't going to be able to get out in time. And the ace in the hole for Master is going to pick up the kill. And yeah, that was a bit interesting. Ender's the 4th shot doing a lot of damage to Master, but doesn't have a lot of mana. Already used the barrier. No more curtain call left. And, you know, you over-aggress. 21 does do a lot of damage. That Poppy base damage, very, very strong. So, wouldn't be too surprised. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Luke picking up Spartan after picking up the kill on Reaper's Blade. So, that's going to be the Feat of Warfare picked up for Wizards. Now, another fight in the top side, and all out comes to CB Batman. Missing the W, missing the Needle Storms, and battle of who can hit more spells. Hopefully, one person's going to come out on top, but unfortunately, just a couple too many misses from both. Nothing happening up there. And gold about evened up, but picking up the Feat of Warfare is a really big deal for Wizards. You know, they do have a lot of early game focused champions, so being able, especially to get the upgraded boots on Hecarim of all people, is going to be a really, really big deal. It's going to provide a lot of value going into that 3-item spike.
Yeah, there will have some big value there. If they, at that 3-item spike, if they are able to secure. Looking at the game state kind of right now, it seems a little... I mean, the Pantheon is getting value, which is better than some other Pantheons we've seen recently. But, okay, never mind. Reaper's Blade is dead. Very dead. Was just walking in the enemy jungle and got stunned to death. Nothing really to say about that. Just kind of a bit of an unforced error out of the Victor here, as an error is forced here.
Ooh, Boulder. Stepping up too far once again, really not respecting the Poppy E, right? Knowing that when you're in that jungle, when walls are on every side of you, that Poppy's just going to be able to get so many stuns in Master, knowing how to follow up with the traps, having everyone there, already 2 plates down, and I'd imagine most of the gold lead that Wizards have at this point, knowing that this gold is spread around the map, is probably the 3 plates and the 2 kills on Master. I'd probably Master carrying that gold lead almost entirely right now, I'd have to imagine. Just doing so well on that Caitlyn, putting down so much pressure. 20 CS, 3 plates, 2 kills, and it's looking pretty dreary going into 2nd, 3rd Drake for Wizards, for Raiders to try and claw their way back. The bright side, Spartan is getting a lead. Syndra does have that kill. If they're able to land the early damage, the early poke on a Master before a fight starts, or maybe get a pick, it's going to be very hard for Wizards to try and bring that back.
Yeah, and never saw. You can kind of see here just from the micro play is schmoving on the Syndra this game, putting on a clinic in the mid lane. But man, the rest of the map is looking a little worse for wear for sure. Ender's not dying, but still not really getting a whole lot of an advantage. Getting no advantage at all, honestly. Master having a sizable lead, now completing that first item as 21's going to get a stun onto Boulder here.
Yeah.
Will
Not
not
be able
amount.
to collapse anything. And it looks like Wizards are just going to be trying to get that drag stacking going up, get that second dragon online, and if they're able to really try and contest that soul for an early value, right? If you're able to get that early soul in this Caitlyn with this Victor, really no matter what it is at this point, it's probably going to be quite good, right? You still have Hextech on the table, Cloud on the table, Infernal on the table, Ocean on the table. You have a lot of these good dragons, no matter what. But we are going to take the Blast Cone in, the Curtain Call opening up. Going to put Luke very low. A crash down engagement, AFK Boulder. Going to buy a lot of time. They're not going to finish up the drag though. However, Luke's going to try and use that Onslaught of Shadows. Not going to be able to get in far enough. Master going forward. Needs a couple more autos. It will be Spartan taking out the dragon after all is said and done. And a number of flashes come out, but Reaper Blade on the backside is going to be able to pick up a kill. Beautiful W from Ianders. The Deadly Flourish landing. Reaper's Blade needs to come bot and back up the rest of his team. Will just be a 1-for-1 at the end, though. However, Raiders stopping that dragon is a huge deal for them. Is going to be able to do a lot. And Reaper's Blade getting that kill, being able to get on the board as well, going to be extremely helpful going into a potential Grubs fight, going into the fight for these objectives, right? Because at this point, it's not looking great in terms of towers, right? That Caitlyn just has one more plate to knock down. Shouldn't be too hard. You know, so you really need to pick up the pressure. You need to get these grubs. You need to try and defend that tower. Put yourself in a position to get that objective, or just go for a top lane gank over here onto CB Batman, who is going to use the all-out as an escape tool. Big stuns going back in with the W. Going to dodge out on the Needle Storm with some good footwork. Reaper's Blade near with the TP. Lots of slows coming up. 21 finally joining the fight, and it's going to be a full 4v4. 21 knocking back Wand Cake. Spartan just 1 inch away from death. But Master is going to be able to pick up, never saw in that bot side, sorry, 21 on the Poppy. Now AFK Boulder probably not going to be able to defend that tower. Does have to be careful though, because now Master has full control over this bot side on Ianders. Is going to be trying to put down that tower. And if they're able to do it, it's going to pick up feats for the Wizards.
Yeah, and that was just really well executed from the Wizards. They responded to that play very well. They already had 21 roaming up. They had Reaper's Blade instantly TP once they saw that Spartan was continuing to aggress. I think that might been a smarter choice is just sort of your goal with TP with Grand Sky falling up there is you either get CB Batman or you are now in a better position to contest the Scuttler. Or not the Scuttle, the Grubbins. But unfortunately, they decided to go for that fight. They did have Neversaw and Boulder up there as well to try and fight that. But again, you know, the side of the Wizards, they were ready to respond. And one of the big things is that Neversaw got super punished in that fight, just getting slammed up by the Poppy into Luke knocking them around, and it was just not really a whole lot for the Syndra to do. And once the Syndra was out of that fight, Poppy had a pretty good heroic big hammer move, knocking them away. Keeper's Verdict, that's the ability. Had a very good Keeper's Verdict. Sort of just isolating these singular targets on the side of the Raiders. As now 21's going to be looking for something with Hecarim around. I think they're just going to get that turret and call it a day. And with, 4 grubs, they did complete the feats there with the full second round of Grubbins and the Drake there. So now we're going to see some upgraded boots come in. And that will be very, very good for them. This is a Cloud Rift. Neither team really got an advantage off of the Drakes. So we're going to see a little bit of a later soul this game than maybe we would have otherwise seen. Minute 30 on that first Cloud. The Cloud pockets, however, are going to be huge this game. I think both teams are really going to look to utilize those Cloud pockets in the jungle to just get around faster and go for more kind of aggressive map rotational plays. I mean, Hecarim loves having those cloud pockets. Poppy and Rel both love having those cloud pockets. It just makes it easier to do your job on these aggressive, engaging, flanking champions. So we'll have to see what these teams can kind of do to utilize the Rift to their advantage. Or if they get advantaged all over. And in the top side, we do have Gwen being immune, but at a deficit still.
Yeah. And it's going to be kind of hard for Raiders to really fight their way back with this bot side lead. A lot of it's going to have to come from Neversaw and Spartan getting those early picks in the fights, being able to get enough damage down onto one of the carries that it's going to be very hard for them to step up and actually utilize that lead, utilize the damage that they have. But if they're going to do it, it is going to start with this dragon coming up in 20 seconds. It is going to be the Cloud Drake. The Cloud Soul, as we know, probably the strongest soul in the game, and definitely something that people are going to want to fight over. Nice FS presence from 21. And it will be Raiders going to be first to the river, forcing back Luke and Master, but Reaper's Blade is on the flank and try and join up with the rest of the team. And the dragon has spawned.
Yeah, dragon has spawned. Looks like the Raiders are setting up a good point here, but they're going to get engaged on very quickly.
Yeah, huge damage already coming through. Crashdown not quite going to land where they wanted it to.
AP.
And now Reaper with a big ultimate on Chaos Storm. Gonna force Spartan and AFK Boulder back both. Luke, though, with an amazing onslaught of shadows, forcing Neversaw into a terrible position. Now one cake on the flank. Luke will be able to pick up one, but Iender's flashing with the fourth shot. And already a 2-for-2 coming through. Finally, the TP comes through for CB Batman, though. And Master and 21 have enough health to spare as Spartan and AFK Boulder force back, leading the Wizards to have full priority on this dragon. And it should be able to be picked up unless Spartan goes for a crazy steal, but with the back being taken, I highly doubt it.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, a good fight on both sides, getting 2-for-2 there, but the HP bars just ended up in favor of the Wizards. Good start there from the fight from Luke and 21, sort of just locking up a gamer and, you know, forcing action from the Raiders, but really flipped that kind of back around to make it less disastrous, because Woncake had a really good angle on that TP, was able to get right on the Reaper's Blade, right onto Master, and sort of disrupt that fight. They did end up going down, but they were able to just kind of throw a wrench into the Wizards' aggression and make it a lot closer than you would have expected from how that engage first initially started, which is definitely a good thing. However, this Caitlyn is still very dangerous. This Poppy is also quite dangerous, and I don't know. Something I'm kind of just hoping to see is that as the game continues onward, we do still have the Syndra on the side of the Raiders, who will be growing in power. Whether or not that's going to be enough to make a difference compared to this Caitlyn, who is now on 2 fully completed items with the IE and the Yuntal arrows. It's going to be a little interesting to see what the Syndra can do here, or if Woncake can get another really good flank like that, because I think that's how they're going to win fights, more than likely, is just from finding good angles, either on the Scatter the Weak Stuns or on Woncake, just getting a good TP like we saw in that last fight, or just finding a good angle on maybe like a choke point, assuming that the Wizards don't already have them completely under control. 3 minutes on the next Drake. Herald's gonna get dropped to the bot side here by Spartan. Otacon is going to be spawning pretty soon. I don't remember which Otacon we've got this game. I'm guessing it is Voracious. I don't think we've had enough kills. I know they reduced kind of the threshold for Ravenous, for Ravenous Otacon to make it more likely, but I still don't think we've had enough kills quite yet. Iender's going to get forced out here, forced to do some buttons.
That's the Grand Starfall, yeah. Curtain Call comes out, gets slow on 21, but only half HP bars coming down, so nothing getting taken out. However, Master now being on the Infinity Edge is quite strong and can do a lot. The only real threat here with the range is Neversaw, who has been playing very consistently this game, almost on that 2-item spike. Is going to be a very hard time for Caitlyn to deal with. The bright side, though, Master doing very well at getting this XP, right? 21 doing a good job of sort of sitting in the wings, letting the carries collect that, and not intruding too much, knowing that most of your job right now is just to steadfast presence, engage, and use that ultimate whenever you need to stop people on an objective. A lot of the roam timers have sort of finished. Teams are already making these sort of sweeping rotations across the map. The micro laning phase is mostly over at this point, right? 23 minutes in. And your team has a 3k lead, right? So your biggest thing that you want to do is just be ready. Follow AFK Boulder, follow Spartan around the map. Make sure that they're not going to be able to get any value.
Yeah. If you prevent them from getting value, you prevent sort of Never Saw or Enders or whatever carry is around from getting gold needed to kind of keep up with the other side of the Rift too. Overall, just the carries on the other side, aside from Reaper's Blade, who I think is a little bit behind Never Saw in terms of gold. The other carries are certainly much further ahead in terms of tempo. So preventing the Raiders from getting things done here and just allowing Reaper's Blade to start getting back into the game, getting more gold into pocket, getting that second item. The double burn would be very nice to see completed, allowing Master to get the items necessary to overcome the famous Caitlyn plateau, although I don't think we're really going to see much of that this game because there aren't really the hyper tanks that Caitlyn has trouble busting on the side of the Reaper, on the side of the Raiders here. Caitlyn is perfectly fine blasting away these champions. Aside from maybe the Rel, but even then, you know, it's just a Rel support, not super tanky, relatively speaking. I think Caitlyn would be perfectly fine just right-clicking that champion as Never Saw aggressing onto Batman up in the top side. Cake has arrived, forcing out the flash.
Yeah, and CB Batman, still very tanky, but being able to dodge on that Needle Storm means that he's going to be able to get away to safety quite easily, and it is still Wizards looking for the drag stacking, looking for a drag up in 20 seconds, going to put them on soul point here, and it looks like Raiders just want to try and maybe make a play for this top tower instead. They don't want to fight that dragon. They know they'll lose, so instead, they're going to be forcing the flash out, going to grab this tower, and inevitably CB Batman could fall. Lots of dashes going down, going to try desperately to get away, going to use so much movement, but in the end, it's just a matter of time. Couple more orbs, a couple more, there we go. Finally, Cake gonna pick that up after he's stunned from Spartan. And now they get to look for that Otacon. And
yeah,
this is the Res Otacon. This is the big, voracious Otacon that Riot recently allowed to be seen in the game more. And having your GAs, having your withdrawals on your entire team is gonna make trying to get back, right? Gonna make that next team fight a lot easier.
Yeah, the big problem is that it's a little bit difficult to make use of the voracious Otacon bonuses when you are the team that is behind. Sure, you get the extra revives and you can go for a bit of a riskier play to try and tip the scales in your favor, but they invested so much time into that, and around the rest of the map, it's kind of crumbled. You saw 2 inner turrets being taken out there in exchange for just the Otacon, which is not nothing to sneeze at, and an outer turret. So it's just going to come down to what the Raiders can do to actually convert this into something. The Drake is not up for a while here. That's another thing they lost in that exchange, was they gave over Soul Point to the Wizards, which is going to be pretty tough to contend with in 4 minutes or so. So really the big thing they can kind of look for here is look to try and aggressively siege with these voracious revives. I think that that's a smart thing to do. Alternatively, look for a Baron fight if that sees itself, but 21 will opt into gifting over a little bit of a freebie to the side of the Raiders here in a confusing fashion, but not... It happens, you know, happens to the best of us and the worst of us, as Master is also going to die. Uh-oh.
Has to be very careful. Never Saw already going to be forced to withdraw, and Ianders flashing forward with the 4th shot, though. Picks up 2 kills, and that's the value that they're getting. Reaper's Blade doing a really good job of holding them off, though. However, 3 kills already going back over, almost evening up the gold lead. And with Baron up in 10 seconds, it's going to be all on Reaper and CB Blade, Batman. So many names, so many B's in the name.
Yeah.
Let's try and defend this Baron. Ianders at under half, and AFK Boulder as well. Probably going to be forced back. It's going to be a bit dangerous if they decide to go for this. They are, but CB Batman's already wrapped all the way around. on that flank and
Oh
be able to
boy.
find Ianders all outing through the wall, and Ianders is going to be taken on a little bit of a journey and
Yeah,
forced to withdraw
withdrawing.
back from the Baron.
Yeah, and that withdraw is going to be enough to dissuade the Raiders from going any further. Good heads-up play from CB Batman. On the other side of the map, though, Cake does get the outer turret, which is a decent trade, but now we're waiting 2 minutes off from the Drake now, the next Drake. Sole possibility for the Wizards. Baron obviously still up. And both teams, I think, clear it about as fast as the other. Maybe, I think Raiders is probably just faster because of Gwen existing. That's a little bit extra damage to help in that objective clear. But otherwise, I think both teams are kind of relatively well matched to clear the neutral objectives. So it's going to come down to just kind of setting up well for that. The Wizards have a lot of good vision on top side, as you can see in the enemy top side jungle. There are 3 just really good wards to catch out where the Raiders are going, catching those roams on the side, making sure that they know, okay, here's where they are, here's where they're going. Especially if they are going to set up for the Baron, they now have a better idea of when that's going to happen sooner before it actually happens. Of course, there could be better vision, I think, for the side of the Raiders. We have a couple of wards. One was able to spot out Luke, but otherwise, it's going to come down to what our 2 teams can do with that. Just sitting up around these objectives. Obviously, if you're the Wizards, you want to be there first. To whatever objective you are at, you want to be there first, just because Victor and Caitlyn both do so well at setting up at choke points. You have the traps, you have the gravity field, you have plenty of ability to set up for that. Meanwhile, the Raiders are just going to have to try and find good angles or, beat the Wizards to the punch. Because it's not like they don't set up well. They do have the Syndra for Scatter the Weak. They do have Jhin traps, so although it's not as efficient, it is still pretty solid, as Boulder's going to channel the Hex Flash, but not commit to it. And it looks like the Raiders are going to commit to attempting to take this Drake, because we've got a pick right here.
Beautiful from Spartan, going to be able to get the kill onto Luke. Cake fighting Steve Batman just a little bit more on that top side. Your classic top laners, while everything is going on, fighting to the death. All they want is blood. They want it. Cake wants it. Gonna dash forward, needs one more Q, but the silence from the Chaos Storm. Cake, though, with one more dash and a flash, can be able to pick up CB Batman as Reaper picks up the return kill, and Raiders pick up the Dragon, stopping that soul, and almost completely evening up the gold lead. 1K down now, only, and that's mostly from the 2 towers. They're doing a really good job of coming back here. Already you can see the value that Neversaw is getting, that this Jhin is getting, that they're able to land these picks and sort of share the value between all of their carries. And you can see Neversaw up, but there's not really enough people in position to capitalize on it.
Yep.
Master 3 items, almost at the Jhin 3 items, you got the Syndra 3 items. Everyone's sort of approaching their horizon line, right? Their really big point of no return for their item spikes, where everyone, if you get caught at this point, you're probably going to die. There's not a whole lot you can do to get out. There's just too much DC, too much damage coming through. So a lot of it now is just coming down to making as few mistakes as possible, and when you see them, to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes.
Yeah, and we saw that right before that Drake. We saw a really good pick from Boulder and Enders that allowed them to lock up Luke and secure basically that Dragon. And unfortunately, the Wizards also didn't really have a great response. Cake was holding CB Batman hostage in the 1v1, which ended well for the both of them. Ended better for Cake, I would say, as the Wizards were kind of forced to attempt to back up CB Batman and to, get that response, the response kill with the Chaos Storm, as we do have a little bit of a chaos fight right here, as Reaper's in trouble.
Yeah, almost caught out, but however, Spartan's not going to be able to use the flash. The ace in the hole hits, isn't going to find Neversaw, but they will be able to trade 1-for-1. Now, flash forward from Spartan is going to be locked under the tower, just a couple more minion shots, and it's just a matter of time before Master grabs it. It's 2-for-2 so far. Both carries left alive, but Luke gonna have that smite value. It is AD carry and support versus AD carry and jungler up in the top side. You can see Luke desperately trying to get around, but AFK Boulder just a little bit too strong, a little bit too much of a wall to let that through. Meanwhile, the top laners have just been doing their own thing on the other side of the map, as they tend to do.
Yeah, good stuff from the Grand Skyfall. Definitely was a great idea. They were able to catch Reaper's Blade there, but the Wizards were kind of around to just respond to it. I do think the Raiders got as much as they possibly could have out of that, trading 2 for 2. Never saw getting that gameplay button onto 21 before perishing. Was very unfortunate if you were Poppy there, just getting blasted away. And Spartan realizing that there's nowhere to go but death, as is the Spartan way. Will was able to get another one there, so it ends up being 2 for 2, and neither team really able to convert, again, any further than that. This Baron has been sitting up here for a while, but it's really rough for either team to start it without, because their relative clear speeds are as slow as they are, sort of speaking, considering how fast it is to get around the map. You have to be very careful if you want to go for a neutral objective like this, and neither team really wants to press that button. And I understand that. So it's gonna just come down to whichever team can capitalize on a mistake without losing as many members. I think if the Raiders were able to convert that play into like a 2 for 1 and backing out and HP bars were good enough, they could have looked for the Baron, but you know, it's gonna come down to which team can get a fight that actually ends in a tangible advantage. And where our players are right now, we're gonna see a fight in the mid that may not end well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Big crash down from AFK Boulder, and the Wizards might have found themselves making a mistake. However, Spartan now trapped in the middle of 2, going to be able to get a ton of damage, but a flashback from Reaper going to be able to block for Master. AFK Boulder goes forward, trying to find the rest of it, but the Chaos Storm going to be able to get the double picked up. And the Wizards still alive, but no more prio on that dragon up in 45 seconds. Every time it looks like, oh, they made a mistake, just a little bit too much damage, and a really nice flash from one of the carries leads to them getting out alive. And right now, it really just feels like the game is in a stalemate. But all of these fights, people are dying, but it's just sort of even. No one's really able to take a very convincing lead after one. So it's really hard to get these objectives to actually try and move to close out a game or to close out these huge objectives that they're looking for until they manage to find a really strong fight, which so far neither team has been able to do.
Yeah, that was certainly, I think, again, you had a great start from the Raiders. You know, a great crash down into Magnet Storm from AFK Boulder, getting a good combo there, but just not nearly enough damage. Speaking of enough damage, though, that might be the pick they're looking for. The odds are now in their favor, unless Wongcake throws it away. Enders could be in danger, too, as Luke's on them.
Yeah, and the Grand Starfall might have picked it all up. Master and 21 already falling. Spartan looking for more. CB Batman has to be careful, but tagged up by the Scatter of the Week. Even with the Unstoppable, it's just so hard when your Sante's in the middle of 5. Inevitably going to be forced to use the All-Out and the Flash just to get back over the wall. Reaper trying to fight Neversaw on the top side, while Luke is trying to find an angle around to maybe go for a steal, maybe find the rest of that dragon. Ianders has to be very careful, though. Reaper's Blade has been doing a really good job trying to pick people off. You can see Luke hunting around, maybe looking for Ianders. And this dragon's being so slow-rolled. Managed to find his way in. Ianders, both the carriers for the Raiders, already down. They're not going to finish up the drag just yet. Onslaught of Shadow is going to back 2 people off. CB Batman has to be careful now. Reaper's Blade going to try, but over the wall goes Spartan and picking up Reaper. Now CB Batman getting run down by Wongcake on the last side. 21, though, going to bash him into the wall, get the Ignite down, get so much damage, and it's going to be the Poppy with the shutdown. Meanwhile, Luke on 2 people, just healing so much from that Conquer, healing so much from that Q value. Spartan, with just a little bit of HP left, gonna be able to land the shield and maybe make it out. 21 and CB Batman are gonna be able to get the chase. Now just on a wild horse chase as Boulder runs himself out of there on his metal steed. Spartan still alive through some miracle. You know, Benny Hill playing in the background as everyone is just running around trying desperately to get out. Inevitably,
the buckler!
Dead Man's
the bucklering!
Into it!
Get buckled.
And eventually, 21's going to pick up the shutdown onto Spartan, somehow giving way for Wizards to pick up that soul after everything.
Yeah, I think the big loss there was Neversaw getting found out and killed up by Reaper's Blade. Once the 2 carries for the Raiders were down at that Drake, honestly, I feel like the Raiders could have tried to peel back a little bit, or, you know, the remaining Raiders could have just looked to try and stall around the Drake. You know, they still had Spartan, they still had Wand Cake. They could have very easily been like, if you go for this, you will die. I think that might have been maybe a better idea. They are able to get a lot more than I think anybody really expected. Spartan doing crazy work on the Pantheon in that last fight. But it's just not nearly enough, as the Wizards are still able to delay and play into that stall well enough that they are able to just pretty efficiently punish the side of the Raiders and sort of Spartans perhaps over aggression, because once that jungler is removed as a factor, the Wizards go very quickly to take that objective, and that is Soul going over and Wand Cake falling on the other side of the map as Luke and Reaper's Blade are there. An unforced error. We'll see if it can be amounting into anything. It could amount into Ender. Ooh, good jump. TP coming in.
Yeah. Nothing quite yet. The curtain call opens up, but they are able to kite it back in time, so nothing gonna happen. Neversaw does have the, just use the TP, so isn't gonna have that. Wizards positioning around this objective, starting up the Baron now. And Raiders see it. They know what's going on, but without Wand Cake for another 23 seconds, it's going to be really hard. They do have TP to potentially find a flank, though, if they're able to just buy a little bit of time, but that Baron is falling so quickly. Goes in, will be Reaper picking up the Baron, and now AFK Boulder in the middle of 5, not going to be able to do anything. That Rel does not have Smite. Jungle Rel, not quite in the game anymore, right? Decided that wasn't enough. However, we do still have one horse there with the High Noon skin, and Luke's going to engage onto Neversaw. Going to be able to force the flash out as they go in. A Spartan going through, but isn't going to be able to pick anything up. Luke barely alive at the end of it, and Reaper chasing with that Chaos Storm. Going to get all the resets. Wand Cake up, Neversaw at low HP, going to have to back out of there, and this might just be the victory march. You can see so many high health bars. 21 a little bit dangerous. Luke, you know, had to back because they're low, but Hecarim is a fast champion, right? Might just be able to push down mid. Might be able to just rotate the team into these towers. You can see them going forward. They want a little bit more. They want to see if they can end the game right here, right now, but Neversaw is doing a really good job of keeping their distance.
Yeah, from 1 HP deficit and 1 side lane kill to the Baron, it was very good from the Wizards, just sort of exploiting the weaknesses of the rocks. Oh, Master? No, Master got gameplay.
That's a double lift move right up there. Just walked up to the Syndra and ate an ultimate. Didn't even get scared of the weak, didn't he? It just walked up and took it. Now, Luke, they might be able to get that mid-tier 2, but, or sorry, tier 3, the inhibitor, but that was a massive misplay from Master and stops any chance they have of closing the game out right there. Now on the run when they were in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Master is the best AD carry in the Blue Water League, as we know. Nobody else could have died like that. It was very unfortunate there. Just kind of disrespecting, I think, the Syndra damage from nowhere. Come on, her whole thing is that she counterplays you with 1 button. You know, you gotta be wary of that, I think. But otherwise, you know, still very much advantageous for the Wizards. They are able to get that inhib up in top, open up an inhib to be available to be taken, and importantly, as this Baron sort of ticks down, they are in a fantastic position going into this next stage of the game. Minute 40 on the Elder Drake. It's gonna be, you gotta have to play carefully here as you are the Wizards. If you give something over, the Raiders might find their way back, and vice versa, of course. Speaking of, gonna have another kerfuffle here. TP's gonna come in.
Yeah. Curtain call comes out, see Batman on the front lines. AFK Boulder, though, on the side, wasn't careful enough. Tried to maybe get a 1v2, but once again, just it bit off a little bit more than they could chew. Spartan goes in with the shield. Wand Cake forced to flash. Minions pushing in every single lane. You have supers in, you have supers in top lane. You have an inhibitor open there. A lot of damage coming through. Both of these teams doing a really good job of managing their health bars, not going down as easily as you would expect. Islanders, though, with a fourth shot is just always so dangerous now. 40 minutes into the game, and Wizards have a massive lead, but you can see at this sort of critical mass that now that everyone has full builds, the lead matters less and less and less. And all that really matters is your positioning before the team fight, which so far they've been pretty good at, but it's just really hard right now, right? The Caitlyn is starting to fall off. The Hecarim is starting to have to build tank items, not as strong of a bruiser as they were. Poppy, obviously, one of those champions that, you pick them for the early game power, you have the Deadman's, the Locket, but now, you're faltering on some of the items, so it's getting harder and harder for Wizards to close out the game, and they have the Soul, the Elder's up in 15, and I fear that if they don't get a decisive victory in that fight, that it might just be a little bit too late, and they might have taken a little bit too long to start closing it out.
Yeah, but I do think the Wizards are in a great position here. They have plenty of priority around this objective, and they're looking to corral the Raiders here. We'll see if it's going to be enough. Great engage coming in from Luke.
Yeah, knocks 2 back. Gonna be able to get 1 from Master, the Chaos Storm. Not chasing forward, Reaper forgetting that you have to micromanage it. However, the knockback from Spartan means the CB Batman is gonna pull him back. The curtain call opens up. Not going to be able to pick up a kill either, though, and you can see it's just so hard for Islanders to actually get in, even with that curtain call. So much damage from Master, the lethal tempo off a flash forward for 2. Going to be able to get both before he's shut down, and with 4 strong, they're going to be marching right into the base. It is only Wandcake with no Needle Storm, with no flash, with nothing left to try and defend these last 2 Nexus towers. But the Wizards are just a little bit too strong. They have a little bit too much power in the back. Inevitably, that Hallowed Mist will run out, that Zhonya's will run out, and it'll spell disaster for Wandcake as Wizards pick up the first game.
Yeah, Wizards, it was very much back and forth throughout this 42-minute absolute barn burner of a game, but in the end, the decisive play from Master, sort of playing with reckless abandon, taking out those 2 carries for their own life, sets up a perfect window for the side of the Wizards to clean house there. Great stuff, I think, from the Wizards making decisive plays happen. But also the Raiders did really well in sort of defending themselves from getting decisively played on. They were able to find good trades. They were able to make sure that they at least got something out of fights that were lost. But unfortunately, towards the end there, in that last fight, they side of the Raiders, they just did not have the positioning or power around the map. They had lost that top inhib, they had lost mid, and now we're kind of just sort of struggling to get their footing back out. And it gave so much room for the side of the Wizards with the Hecarim and the Poppy to just get whatever angles they wanted. And in that last fight, you saw that right there with Luke setting up very well with the onslaught of shadows into a, just the side of the Wizards cleaning house there. Only dropping, I think they only dropped 1 in that fight. And that was Master tactically throwing their life away to mop the floor with the side of the Raiders.
Yeah, and Raiders held on for a really long time, way longer than they should have. What did it end up being, like a 43-minute game, all things considered? One of our longer games in the season so far. I'm actually now wondering what our longest game this split was exactly. Was it the? I feel like we casted
It had to have been a Ruby
40
game.
I feel like it was, right? I'm trying to think of the matches. I know it's somewhere. I know it's the game time is somewhere. I'm not going to be able to find it off the top though. Maybe when we come back, we'll be able to get it. But for right now, we're going to cut it to a short break while we wait on the teams to get ready for the next draft. When we come back, we will be in draft for game 2. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty, everybody, and welcome back into draft for game 2. Wizards already up 1-up in the series after a banger of a 43-minute game. Seeing if they can maybe close it out a little bit faster this time, or if the Raiders are going to be able to take it back in just as long as of time. Hopefully, whichever team wins, hopefully going to be able to close out the game, actually be able to use that lead instead of just dancing around for 40 minutes, because there was a lot of really close fight. It was very fun to watch, but it did feel like a lot of mistakes being made, especially towards that 30-plus minute mark.
Yeah, and of course, we teased that we were gonna find the longest game from earlier in the split, and I dug through and looked at every single match result, and I have found the longest game in this split so far. We could see a longer game. It was Wizards versus Dragon. Game 2 of that series ended up going 54 minutes. Granted, they also had Jungle Zed, so I feel like the Wizards may have been playing with their food a little bit in that game. But in either case, that is currently our longest recorded game. Shoutouts, of course, to the Kittens and Spuds, who had a 49-minute game, and then Astronauts and Imperials, who had a 48-minute game as well. So we've had some long ones. 41 minutes is kind of relatively quaint, all things considered. What's not quaint, though, is we have nuts on the table here with our top laners, and oh Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. It is John Yasuo.
John Yasuo. It is John Winbrother. The first one. We'll see if we get the second one. Already, definitely, I think some much more significantly interesting comps than we've seen so far. Now, I've talked ad nauseum about mage bot laners. We have a Yasuo and an Mbessa already locked in. Are we going for the turbo AD comp? Or are we just gonna lock in our support now with 0 tanks and never punished for locking 3 AD? We'll see. Okay, the Rek'Sai already locked in, so maybe we do end up never punished. Maybe Wizards just lock 3 ADCs and we just decide that it's completely fine that we build double crit on everyone.
Man, I got to cast a premiere game earlier on this weekend because I was subbing in for Crewman, and looking at the drafts, it was like, wow. We went to 4 games, and every game was like, wow, we're making good decisions here in the draft. Every game, we're making like smart choices and building compositions. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this would not be the case if this was draft.
No,
here we are.
We got Chadwick Boseman. We don't do that here.
And honestly, that's why this is the premium content.
This is the greatest content of all time. Only.
Yeah, the Rek'Sai pick, I don't know what we're smoking. This champion is dog. It is pee-pee poo-poo. Do not play Rek'Sai. She is not very good.
It's not even about the Rek'Sai. It's the fact that we can see
in the game, though.
We have Mbessa Yasuo, and we just don't like to take. Dude, you could just lock Sejuani. No one's stopping you from just locking Sejuani. It's allowed. No one's going to come to your house and kill you if you buy a Randuin's Omen. I promise you that. I promise you, if you go and buy a Randuin's Omen, you're not gonna have John Winwall knocking on your door. All right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what we're thinking. But I trust the Wizards that they have a plan with this very fascinating jungle pick. Otherwise, we do have the Braum getting banned away here. Braum, of course, best champion in the format, as we've often discussed. We do have Kassadin getting banned away, along with the
all I'm saying,
Lulu.
I'm losing my mind that we see Mbessa, Yasuo, Gragas, and we're the ones banning Braum somehow. What, guys? Okay, never mind. I take it back. We're actually geniuses. We're actually goated. Raiders on top. Never doubted them for a second.
We know what we're doing. Yeah.
Never doubted them for a second, baby.
Boulder was cooking the entire time. Boulder had the
Okay,
tier list open for
is it
Honkai Star
there's
Rail and
there's
just
no way it's the
stumbled into
Yasuo
this.
bot, right? There's no way it's the Yasuo bot, the Tarek Tristana. We're not that delusional.
I
Surely.
I think it's the truth. I think we got to make it happen.
Can we play Xerath on that? I feel like that's a little bit, or maybe it's Xerath support and we're just gonna go like the double poke mage bot lane. I am a little bit confused. I think Wizards might have cooked a little. Maybe we're burning down the kitchen. We'll have to see.
Yeah. As a note, that second ban that the Raiders had was a karma ban for those who were
Okay.
curious.
Oh,
Which does take away one of those poke options that I think actually would have been really good with the Wizards composition.
is it the Gragas support?
Karma is great at tying things together, and we just locked in Zach. We have just
Dude,
we are picking Ender's Vein in the year of
dude, we are
God.
locking Yasuo Gragas bot lane and Vayne Tarek in the year of our Lord 2025. You love to see it. This is why we watch Draft League. This is why we watch Draft League. It's only for this.
Oh!
Oh, this is why we love it, baby. It's why we come back every week.
Oh, no!
This is why we come back every week.
This ARAM ain't shit right here. This is
Dude,
this is League of Legends.
This is beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful draft in my life, knowing exactly that when we get into game, it is going to be the most unserious thing of all time, and I'm gonna love every second of it.
Yeah, it looks like the Raiders and Wizards are colluding to hold us both hostage for as long as possible. I think that's gonna happen, but you fools, I am on spring break, so I can go as late as I want to tonight, and you cannot destroy me. You will not defeat me tonight. But man, this is something else. I don't know if there's any kind of like high level analysis we can bring to the table here. I will
mean,
say,
I think
the Tarek is like the best choice we made in the draft.
Yeah,
for the Raiders.
I'm not messing with the Rek'Sai, but everything else, I actually, all things considered, I actually do like this. I like the double carry with the Tarek. I like the Camille for the flank, especially when you're going into that Mbessa, being able to match her on the side of fights. You know, maybe not even in the side lane, just like in the jungle when you're trying to find flanks is pretty good. The Gragas Yasuo is definitely funny. I think there's something to be said. The Xerath isn't too crazy, right? Going for that poke mage into the Tristana, or it's gonna be scary, right? You have a lot of poke early, but it's really gonna come down to hitting that E, right? Saving it. If you miss your E and you give Tristana an opening, you're probably just dead on the Xerath. There's a lot that's gonna be very difficult to deal with. So I think all things considered, I do give this to Raiders, but I think this is one of those games where it's like, I think whatever, no matter which team plays better, I think we're at a state where no matter which teams do what, no matter what happens, the funniest outcome will occur. At every possible moment, the funniest outcome will occur. And I don't know who that is quite yet. I think we have to get into game to see. But I think this is going to be a deeply funny game. And I don't expect people to make the correct choices at all. I think it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, and with that said, I feel like there's nothing else we can really add. Let's just let the game do the talking. When we get back from our spectator delay, we'll see you then.
Alrighty, and welcome back onto the Rift for Game 2. It is, in fact, the Yasuo Gragas bot lane versus the Neoteric. I don't think I've seen this one in a while. I thought we agreed to not play interesting things. We've just been doing the most basic things, and we're just getting bored. I don't blame them. Master, this was something that we saw a couple times last year, maybe once last season. I know Master plays it, so I'm not shocked to see it at least once, but in this game, closing it out when, you know, your second seat's on the line, maybe this is the victory lap. Maybe this is the sort of humble brag, calling your shot.
Yeah, fate of the world on the line. Give me Yasuo. You might as well, because if you win this game, you have truly embarrassed and humbled I-Enders, and there's no coming back from that, I think. Like, the mental damage you deal to I-Enders here is more than I could ever do, personally. And I've done some mental damage to I-Enders in the past, you know. He did want me dead, so... I think Master here has the opportunity to just sort of cripple this gamer permanently. But otherwise, I think, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting kind of game. We have two compositions that are just, okay, never saw it going a little brazy here. Just getting that proc on the press the attack off of the jump at level 1. Yeah. That's what Tristana can do into the Xerath as one cake looking for something.
True damage gets the reset, needs two more autos, but the potions are ticking, and so is the Doran shield from CB Batman. Big save there. Almost dead. Could have been really bad. And, you know, over in the mid, that's what we talked about, right? If you don't have that E on Xerath, the Tristana is just going to jump in and bully you as much as humanly possible. They can see one cake slow rolling this up, possibly looking for a dive from Spartan. You can see already paddling towards that top side. Might not want to go for the bot side. Might just go for that invade, especially now that Neversaw has the ward on the blue, spotted it out. You can already see the pings coming through. Meanwhile, a little bit of trading in the bot side, but already we have Spartan coming up. One, slow rolling that wave, forcing out the cooldowns from CB Batman. And this could be it. We'll have to see Luke coming around for a bot lane gank as well. Dive now on the top side. I-Enders, though, the one engaged on first. Big stun there from AFK Boulder, but it's first blood on the top side. Over to Spartan, and a successful dive for the Raiders.
Yeah, Spartan was able to get that one off. Top side, didn't even have to burn flash for it either, as it was just sort of easy pickings. Once the wave crashed, they definitely had enough damage to just lock him up, take him out really easily. Rek'Sai does have a little bit of execute damage, so allows her to just sort of bite through these low health champions and take them down. Meanwhile, on the bot side, we did have an engage from Luke that got flipped on its head. One of Tarek's best tools is his ability to sort of stop these engages. We're going to see if he can do it here.
Yep, Luke already going into the Bloblet form, 21 low as well. Master getting engaged upon, however, uses the Tornado. It's not going to be enough. I-Enders with the extended range, and it's going to be Raiders claiming the feat of warfare, picking up 2 kills in that bot side, as 21 the only one to make it out alive. And Raiders, I mean, we said, you know, definitely an early game focused comp, and they're showing it in spades.
Yeah, and the Wizards kind of, you know, fumbling a little bit, but I think we kind of expected that with the composition they've thrown at the wall here. I think the Nyla and Tarek lane, when you realize you're into the double melee, it's super heads up to play this. You just have so much sustain, you have so much ability to stop engages in their tracks. Tarek is really good into these kinds of champions, and when you're up against 2 of them, makes it even better for yourself, as Neversaw. Ooh, good buffer. Good, perfect buffer right there. That's what we call Tristania mechanics right there. I don't see that every day, as... Yep, Neversaw staying alive there. One of the reasons you pick the Tristana champion is for that kind of CC buffering safety. But yeah, around the map, looking pretty all right for the Raiders here in the early game, and as their composition definitely favors the earlier stages, they want to make the most of this while they can. Currently, of course, we do have what I assume is an Ocean Drake up available here, as Luke is going to be taking out the bot side Scuttler Crab. Both junglers here, because they went for earlier ganks, they're a little bit down in the clears where they usually would be. But I think since, at least for Spartan, who converted on 2 of those ganks, feeling all right about themselves. Luke maybe less so, as the Zac is gonna get pinned in the pit here. Does have the elastic slingshot, so not too concerned about that. And right now, the Raiders continue to maintain power and pressure in the mid and bot lane.
Yeah, it's pretty hard for them right now. As you can see, Master and 21 just taking so much damage. The healing and sustain from Ianders and Boulder, though, is just really hard to cut through. Flash forward, not going to be able to make it. The shield from Wongcake wears off just a little bit too early, and CB Batman putting Wizards on the board in that top side. Raiders still in complete control of this bot side of the map, though.
Yeah, Raiders getting a little, feeling all right for themselves there. Will be sort of going to help on this Drake. In the top side, though, we did have a solo kill going over to CB Batman, who's just able to find themselves a good fight into Wongcake. Both of these top laners, very aggressive, very much in your face, gonna try and kill the opponent to death. And it's just gonna come down to which one is the superior gamer on the engage. And in that engage, it went over to CB Batman. We'll have to see if that kind of changes the pace of the lane, of course. It may make a difference, it may not, especially as the game continues to develop. And once Camille assembles some items, she is definitely a lot of a terror and can apply pressure around the map wherever she so well pleases. Otherwise, we have first objective trade of the game. 3 Grubbins go over to the Wizards. First, Ocean Drake goes over to the Raiders. And you kind of not too unexpected there. Luke's going for something.
Yep.
Ooh,
dodge. Public execution, though. Wongcake gonna use the hook shot to get out. Spartans here in the top side, though, has the Rek'Sai. Gonna be doing a lot of damage to Luke, getting so much damage. Does have the ultimate if they need it. Finally gonna use it and jumping out from the ground. A little bit of a claw game right there. Flashing forward, though, CB Batman picks up the shutdown. Now on a Wongcake. Might lose this now that CB Batman has the double buffs and has such a big lead. So CB Batman already looking really great in that top side. However, the rest of the team not looking as hot.
Yeah, CB Batman able to secure that there. I will say good stuff from Spartan as we do have an engage.
Yep, down the bot side. Gonna use that ult. Tower shots. AFK Boulder's alive.
What?
He's healing.
Alive?
There's no way the exhaust comes out. Is finally gonna go down. Inevitably. Master makes it out, though! The outplay! The Yasuo outplay that we've been waiting for. Luke comes in to save him at the very last minute. Now engaged in the top side, the Hextech ultimatum down. CB Batman overextends the lead, and Wongcake picks up the kill. It is a bloodbath in this game.
Yeah, buff transfer complete. The long game turn plan pays off, as Wongcake does get those double buffs from CB Batman, who got them from Spartan. And in the mid lane, though, we did see a gank from Luke convert into a kill on to Neversaw. I believe that was, I think 21 picked that up, actually. I don't remember who picked it up, but it was not the mid lane or the jungler. But in the bot lane there, a dive attempt from Boulder with the Cosmic Radiance. A good effort, good attempt, but Master on the Yasuo just moving around too much to really pin down. Makes it very difficult there. Boulder living for a lot longer than really expected, but with the exhaust just sort of getting punished there, as Ender's not able to quite convert that immediately into a kill, as Wongcake looking for another.
Yeah, CB Batman has to be careful and maybe reconsiders it. Now Luke's up in the top side, though, flying in Wongcake very low. Pops the Let's Bounce, needs to flash to get that final knock-up, and Wongcake, it's just a matter of time. Use the hook shot. Gonna try and get some healing off, but it's not gonna be enough. Meanwhile, on the bot side, a 1-for-1 trade. 21 taking out Ianders, and Ianders taking out Masters, so both carries go down, but it is Ianders with the extra kill picked up.
Yeah, Iander's getting the kill there, certainly favorable. Of course, 21 getting kills is not too out of the ordinary. Seems to be part of the game plan here, is that 21 is the big carry. Zach coming in to the top side at the right time to bail out CB Batman, who was almost certainly going to die to One Cake. Speaking of...
Speaking of dying to One Cake
speaking
once
of,
again. Also, I just realized 21 is going not for the locket or the sword items, but the lost chapter.
He's a gamer. I don't know what to tell you. He's a gamer. He has 2 kills. He's gaming. I get you tell me. You tell me what a gamer is supposed to do when you end up with 2 kills on support. You buy that lost chapter. That's all I'm saying.
You buy the lost chapter. What are you gonna do? I will say one of the things that we need to look at. One of the things we need to look at is Neversaw, who only at 0-1 and 2 right now, but almost done with the call, went for the defensive boots, is going to be a really big scaling threat, right? Has sort of understood that we have the Rek'Sai, we have the Camille, we have this Neela, you know, carrying in the bot side. I just need to play for the scaling. I need to be the insurance policy, and that's exactly what she's doing right now, right? Just scaling up, biding her time, and, you know, come 2-3 items, that Tristana, I think, is going to come out of nowhere and be a really shocking threat. However, right now, does have to be careful. Really nice buffer there. Dodges out on the cast. Flashes the dodge from Luke. Just so much fancy footwork there from Neversaw. And they just cannot kill the Tristana.
Yeah, Neversaw, she is going crazy for sure this game. At least in terms of the movement here. Not as impressive in terms of the actual laning power. Relatively even in that case, although the plates are definitely in favor of the Tristana here, who is looking to blast away Mr. Xerath, at least a little bit. But yeah, avoiding that gank, narrowly avoiding death in multiple ways there. Gotta commend that movement from the Tristana. And like you said, I do think that it is better. Oh, Reaper's Blade, yeah, it's gonna die. Neversaw identifying that this is a Tristana scaling angle. Tristana not always seen as this hyper carry, but she does have late game scaling elements, her range being the biggest one. One Cake and CB Batman trading blows here, but kind of just CB Batman maintaining pressure and footing in the lane. But yeah, Tristana used to be known as a bigger hyper carry, now gonna have to play that role again. Luke is getting in trouble.
Nice bounce, though. Knocks all 3 away. Brings him out to safety. But as you can see, Raiders, even though the gold is pretty much even, it just feels like Raiders have been doing such a good job of controlling the pace of the game, right? Playing the map exactly how they want it to. Waiting for another one. And 21 actually caught out on the rotation into mid lane. Neversaw picking up their 2nd kill of the game. And now is where the threat comes out. Now you can see the Tristana really start to be that massive threat. And another engage under the tower. Boulder just keeps disrespecting the tower aggro and the minions, not watching when they die.
Yeah, a little bit of disrespect there, but staying alive there. Importantly, in the mid lane, Neversaw picking up 2, very big for them. Meanwhile, 21's got a gun. This is a Luden's companion on the Gragas. I told you this was an ARAM. This is, in fact, all random, all mid. We are building gun on Gragas, which is certainly fascinating. I can't say I agree with the theory, but I do think it is very funny.
What do you think he was hiding in the barrel?
I guess it's a gun. I should have known. My bad. I don't know if that's the best choice to make, but it is the funny choice, so I'm okay with it. As somebody who is here for chief entertainment, that is what I'm. Call me entertained. This master is gonna get jumped on here.
Yeah, has to be careful, especially because that Cosmic Radiance is still up. Doesn't even need it, though. Iron's just going to use the ult. Force out the exhaust as well. And they're going to try and look for this tower. They already have 1 down for the feats. Not quite going to be able to finish it up, though. And it might come down to the objectives. We'll have to see as another engage in the top side. Nice Hextech ultimatum from One Cake. Then dodge out on the rest of this damage. And now Neversaw back up on the rotation. Going to pick up 1. Looking for another. Putting down the blobs. And we'll see if they just give this to the Tristana. Or if they're going to give it over to One Cake. It will be over to One Cake. As Neversaw from 0, 1, and 2 to 3, 1, and 3. And this is what we were talking about, right? Just give the Tristana a little bit of time. Just get her through that early game, and she's going to be a massive threat. Now, finish the call. The feats are complete, and Raiders have officially locked control of this game with an almost 4,000 gold lead.
Yeah, this is absolutely where they want to be in this game, securing this kind of lead with this composition. The Tristana set up really well to start scaling. The Neela in a good position here. Camille with now control of the lane and okay. I think we live unless we get hit by every single one. Okay.
Ooh, force to flash.
Yeah, force to flash. I think that's a victory if you're Reaper's Blade. You are A-okay forcing out a flash from the enemy top lane. That is going to be the Arcane Barrage down for Xerath here. Not that that is the longest or most impactful cooldown in the game, as in the top side, it's actually CB Batman who will be claiming the first turret up there. Not first turret of the game, of course. That did go over to the Raiders. You can tell by the fact that they are now able to invest in those enhanced booties, and they are certainly happy to do so. Looking around the map, we have about 50 seconds on the first Drake. That is a Mountain Drake that will be available. Mountain Rift. Mountain Rift, I think, definitely benefits both teams who really do like to have those extra resistances, especially the Wizards, who are very heavily melee, and any kind of stray resistances and shielding are going to be huge for them. Meanwhile, of course, you know, if you are the Raiders, you definitely want to have those extra resistances, because ER-innate resistances are not nearly that great. Rek'Sai, although she is certainly a better bruiser than she used to be, Ender's in trouble.
Yeah, has to be careful. Nice cast. Gives a double knockup for Enders to follow up on, but Spartan's here. Going to be flashing on Master, actually. 21 forced to flash just for the disengage, but is going to get stunned up on the repeat. Never saw. They're getting stunned up. Now the engaged Enders brings him close. Never saw back under the tower. Just couple more autos, but it might be a little bit too much. Flashing out of the tower aggro. Luke trying to play around. Uses the left bounce. Shouldn't have to die, though. Now Never Saw needs to dodge out on a couple of those arcane barrages, getting a lot of healing, and will be able to make it out unless CB Batman flashes over the wall. Gets one, going for two, has the public execution. That's two, needs one more. AFK Boulder getting run down now, and there's just so many dashes from this Ambessa, fully 200 years champion, until inevitably she's caught out on the back end as Reaper's Blade backs up, thinking Spartan was gonna go for CB Batman, but will pick it up with the ultimate. Raiders, every time Wizards find just a little bit of something, Raiders immediately crush that hope on the rotation.
Yeah, and I gotta say, really smart at the end there from Spartan to sort of realize that CB Batman was dead to rights and just kind of turning on to Reaper's Blade, making the smart choice there to get more out of that than they really bargained for. I do gotta say the Wizards did find a good pick. CB Batman found a great angle, punishing that the overstay from the side of the Raiders. The Raiders were able to just kind of flip it back around and make what could have been a bit of an upset into a little bit less of a disaster. But yeah, I wonder if Master is sort of bit off more than he really got more than he bargained for with the bot lane Yasuo. I think it's got to go back to range champions, buddy. I think this one's a little bit too complex for you. 1 and 4, not looking so great. Gotta say, 21 playing pretty well, though, all things considered, on the Gragas. But yeah, the Raiders have mounted quite a lead, and that is going to be a solo kill going over to Neversaw, who almost certainly, with the ultimate down, just kind of boom blastered Reaper's Blade. Speaking of boom blastered, CB Batman.
Yeah, not looking too great up in the top side, and this feels just sort of the story of the series so far, right? Even in the winning games, CB Batman just can't catch a break.
Yeah, CB Batman struggling once again here. Sort of public enemy number 1 on the side of the Wizards, keeping this top lane down. Cake looking pretty solid this game for sure. And I gotta say, I bash the Rek'Sai, but I think Spartan is Spartan's doing work. Spartan's kind of, you know, making the pick look pretty good for itself. I'm not gonna say that there could have been a better champion here, because there probably could have been. It is Rek'Sai, but, you know, it certainly is doing its job quite effectively in this game. And I do like Rek'Sai. I think she's a cool champion. I just don't think she's quite very good. And just as I compliment Spartan, here it is. Just dead. Oops. My bad. My bad, y'all.
Yeah,
bad,
what are you
y'all.
gonna do? One kick!
Oh,
Hashtag
no!
ultimatum! Can't escape under any circumstance. Now it's gonna be 21 taken up. Luke trying to save his support, might have put himself in more danger. Gonna be forced to use the elastic slingshot to get out. And the cover fire from Reaper's Blade just gonna put Highlanders a little bit low to dissuade any further chasing. But Raiders have just been doing so well. Fight after fight after fight. Now they just need to turn it into objectives.
Yeah, just gotta convert at this point if you are the Raiders here. They've certainly mounted quite a lead for themselves, sitting at around 5k, and it's just gonna come down to whether or not the Wizards can stop them from going any further here. And they've been doing a good job holding their objectives down, at least. Only 3 turrets. I mean, 3 turrets falling is pretty good for the Raiders. It's not too awful. But more of these neutral objectives for them would be certainly advantageous, as the Wizards have kind of, against all odds, set themselves up to potentially get soul point off of this next Drake. And the Wizards also did get every single round of grubbins. So that is 6 grubs for the Wizards. If they are able to get a push, they have very strong lethal potential with those, with the just turret clearing. But it's very difficult for them to do so just because of how far behind they are, at least currently. Granted, you know, Yasuo is one of those champions who is inevitable. He becomes a threat eventually. He just needs some items, and I think once we get the crit in for Master, we're going to start seeing Yasuo be a bit more of a threat. The Blade of the Ruin King, certainly, I imagine it is what you got to do on Yasuo just for survivability purposes, and then start going into the crit, but it does sort of put you behind the curve of Enders, who was able to spec into crit immediately and start really clawing away at these enemy champions. 21 looking for something.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what the hell's going on right now, because Neversaw's completely split off from the team. Spartan's completely split off from the team. And we do get the Otacon, but it feels like maybe we shouldn't have gone down. However, I guess just going for the distraction worked, right? You probably could have done it without it, but I mean, hey, if that's what you're going, if that's your game plan, if you just wanted a distraction, you got one. You pick up the Otacon, you get all those petals, but you're 30 seconds to the Mountain Dragon, and now you have to try and fight your way in. However, it all starts with this initial pick. Forcing the flash out of Reaper's Blade is a huge deal.
Yeah, that Xerath is a sitting duck without flash. Will be very easy for Neversaw or One Cake to kill if Reaper's Blade decides to step up anywhere on the map. Interestingly, this Drake will be potentially going over to Wizards because, yeah, Spartan falling there did not spawn fast enough, and the damage is really good here. I think Wizards have the ability to shred this, and they aren't going to get in range in time. We're going to see an engage, though.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. It is going to be a massive steal from Luke, and now over the wall, we have 2 picks already picked up. CB Batman, that's not how you get out of the Hextech Ultimatum, buddy. Will try and bring Luke out to safety, though. Neversaw going to be forced back. The carries on Raiders just so strong, but they're really struggling to actually pick up the objectives, actually finish them off. And Luke picking that up actually puts the Wizards on soul point, despite everything.
Yeah, great secure from Luke, and really just heads up from the Wizards, too. Kind of realize that their win condition now is to get that neutral objective and kind of play around it. We do have a fight, though.
Oh, huge knockup from Luke into an amazing ultimate from Master. The cover fire from Reaper's Blade forcing Neversaw out. Not going to be able to get in. A W means Neversaw will pick it out to safety. Spartan picking up Master on the chase. They don't want anything else, though. They're looking around for it, realizing that Reaper's Blade and Luke are safe under their tower. They're just going to be walking back towards the team. And all things considered, you know, could have been significantly worse for Wizards. Picked up 2 shutdowns, picked up the soul point steal, got the free Herald out of it all. If you're Wizards, you know, when the game has been going this badly, I think you're quite happy with how that sequence of events went.
Yeah, especially because, again, you do have the soul point in your pocket. You now get a little bit of advantage in about 4 minutes. You have the ability to sort of split the map. You can either force the Raiders to come and fight you and, you know, hopefully you win around the Drake, or you can force the Raiders to take that Drake, and as we saw there, the Wizards actually take objectives really quickly. So they do have the ability to shred through potentially this Baron if the Raiders decide to commit to the Drake in 3 minutes. So that's a little bit of a potential advantage for the side of the Wizards once we get to that point. And we also saw, like, the theory of, you know, why you pick Gragas and Yasuo together. The knockups all really pair well together, and I think the Zac as well really sets up for Master to do something. However, the Raiders are deciding to just go for this Baron. They're going to force the issue, force the Wizards to have to play maybe before they're ready. And we're going to see what happens. Luke is coming, but he is a little slow. TP's coming in as well.
Yeah, has to be really careful. The Baron eventually goes down, and it won't be stolen away this time. Now the rest of the Raiders just trying to get out, but it's one kick over the wall with the flank. Doesn't want to try and finish the fight, though. Raiders are very happy with what they were able to get. You can see the pings coming out. Wizards thinking, maybe we can get the tower, but this is what you want to see from the Raiders, right? Being able to use the gold lead, being able to get these fights, forcing the objectives as they should be doing, and actually managing to secure them this time.
Yeah, securing that objective. Granted, they didn't lose the last Drake to a steal. It was started by the Wizards. Boulder was going in to try and disrupt them. So it's not like they lost an objective to a steal, at least in this game. But yeah, it was definitely advantageous for them to get that. Luke was just a little slow on the rotation. I think Raiders realized that they had the opportunity, and Wizards were not in the places to properly respond. And now, with this Baron, the Raiders now have a bit of a decisive bonus that allows them to actually utilize these pushing tools that they have with the Camille, with the Tristana, even the Nyla, to try and actually kill a turret and get a decisive push here. I do think they are going to need to kill a player or two before they can go for that decisive push. But with all the sustained damage they have, these turrets will be turned into butter once they get the ability to actually... Oh, no. The Fat Man was blasted away there. I know what that feels like, as 21 will fall to Neversaw just appearing in the game. Did burn Flash, though, so... This is a flashless Tristana. We'll see if it makes a difference. They are going to be a target.
Yeah, and we'll see if they end up getting taken out. Neversaw trying to cut away. Good W there. She's trying to run away, but eventually they will be able to catch up. CB Batman picking up the kill. And then Tristana, all on your lonesome. That is a massive shutdown. They're going to be able to take something out. However, in the meantime, the rest of Raiders have sort of been taking that sacrifice and really utilizing it, right? Top lane inhibitor down. Mid lane inhibitor going down. Bot lane not quite as pushed in, but being able to get a lot of value out of this. And you can see them trying to maybe chase in. 21 stepping a little bit too far forward. Going to be forced into the Zanyas. Spartan goes over the wall, potentially going for the... Is stunned as 21 flashes away. Knockup chain to hell and back. I mean, Spartan will inevitably go down. Meanwhile, on the bot side, you do see CB Batman on the flank, using that public execution, managing to take out 2 so far. Now it's just one cake and Ianders left alive, trying to one array, trying to use that hook shot to get over the wall.
This is horrible! Drake's up!
We're trying, we're desperately trying, as Ianders is left for dead by the top laner. And with Dragon up, the Wizards, despite everything in this game, have managed to secure the Mountain Soul from right under the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders getting a little bit punished there. I think the trade of Neversaw for those 2 inhibs, perfect. That's a great usage of the Baron and good, like, map-wide play. But once you get that trade, you gotta try and get out. I think Spartan going back in and trying to get 21 there off of the Zanyas was just a bit of an overcommitment for no real reason. All you needed to do was just walk out of the base in a straight line down mid lane and then kind of take a right turn and go to the Drake. But no, instead they do go back in. They try to get more than they bargained for, and now they might have more than they bargained for in the game. Master, though, I think is very dead. Is looking a little dead. Looking like a corpse a little bit.
Not looking great. One Cake over the wall with the hook shot, never saw it, gonna be able to back it up. And this is what we talked about, right? Once you start getting into those 3-item spikes, any mistake you made, if they're able to capitalize it, you're just going to die. You don't have the health bars, you don't have the health totals anymore to survive, especially from this double carry and Camille onslaught that is just running you down. Tarek, the only committed tank in this entire game. The rest of it, 2 bruisers, 2 ADCs, just milking your health bar for all that it's worth.
Yeah, we'll see what can happen here, though. No Barons left on the side of the Raiders. That objective was long gone, and that buff long dead. Do have a minute and 20 on the next Baron, though. Master is back up right now. The base defense continues here, as we do have Spartan pushing in the mid-top lane. Mid being walked in as well. And the Wizards are going to be pinned in base for a little while, at least until these inhibs respawn, and I think this is going to give the Raiders the opportunity to get this next Baron. And I think off of this Baron, with the inhibs as they are, they could definitely look to make another attempt at a lethal push, at least, like, you know, putting pressure in through the bot side. One Cake and Tristana both able to then win the game out of nowhere in a side lane, as we do get a pause. Oh,
not
boy.
like this. Not like this.
Oh boy. Here we are, folks. Here we are in the pause zone, and the fact that we are on the caster screen now makes me kind of realize this is not a silly pause. This might be an
actual pause. Oh Lord.
No.
Hey, you know, we almost went 1 week without it. We almost did. And you know what? For me, that's good enough.
That's fine. It is what it is. Gotta say, this game has been pretty exciting. For the moment, unless I hear otherwise. Looks like there was just some jungle lagging. Okay, I think we are back on the Rift. Enjoy that frame pause there. I guess there was just a little bit of lag. We do get another
classic
frame
spectator,
pause.
classic spectator from the one and only indie company Riot Games.
Yeah, enjoy this frame, the channel of the Nyla recall. Very good. Yeah, so we'd be playing with our food a bit here if we are the Wizards, allowing the Raiders to get a little bit of emotional support out of this game. But I think the Wizards do still have a chance to win. They did get that Drake. They're setting themselves up okay. The Waves are obviously not in an advantageous state, and One Cake can very easily force the issue in the bot side and force the Wizards to have to respond. And that's going to mean that this Baron almost certainly will go over to the Raiders unless Luke can get some kind of miracle going.
Yeah, and that might be pretty difficult, all things considered. You can see Luke, you know, might be able to slingshot into that pit, but they have the vision control, they have everything necessary. Bot side, 2v1, sorry. It will be Reapers coming in with the ultimate. 21 trying to knock this pit around. The Baron getting very low, but no! Luke smites a bit too early. Now the Cosmic Radiance coming down. Ianders and the rest of the team brought into invulnerability. Never saw on the backside of the fight, fighting CB Batman. Both brought in, lots of knockups coming through. Ooh, spin from Master. Takes the fight back. Wizards on the chase. Spartan coming down, forced to use the tunnels to try and get out. The Baron only on 2 members, but Wizards every time just fighting, clawing their way back from the brink when everything seems lost. And Raiders have just been having a super hard time in this entire series actually getting value for their lead.
Yeah, and this game in particular has become kind of egregious as One Cake on the side dies a little too early in that split, and that gives plenty of time for Reaper's Blade and CB Batman to be on the play at that Baron. And honestly, this might be, it's still 5v3. They may still look for it.
Yeah, we'll see. They're gonna try and push a little bit, but the health bars are already getting pretty low. Luke gonna have to back away from his team as that bomb is on him. Never saw TPing, saying just buy some time, wants to finish out this game. You can see one going forward, trying to chase it down, getting so many stuns. Inevitably, Luke not gonna cancel the back. They don't believe in it. They're trying to get the fight. They're winning. They're doing so much damage. Master finally respawned, but the fight is through. Wizards have won. Spartan, the last one left to defend the base. Meanwhile, in the last base, the Nexus going down, and Raiders with the backdoor from Neversaw to finish off game 2 and bring us to series point.
I hate to say it. I hate to be the one to say it. I never saw that coming. Right there.
I know, dude. You know, I don't want to go with the pun, but I didn't see it either. That was such a. I think that was a really smart play. Knowing just how fast Tristana just busts these towers at 4 items, absolutely melting them, shredding the stone. That was a game. That was certainly one of the games of all time.
Yeah, I think
that was one of the good games of all time. That was incredibly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, that was back and forth. The Raiders getting an early lead, the Wizards mounting a miraculous comeback off of good neutral objective play, and starting to really claw back that victory. And I think if it was not for Neversaw with the heads up TP, that could have been a Wizards victory, but the base was so shattered from the early advantages that the Raiders found that it opened up the right window for Neversaw to go in with the TP and actually end the game. I don't think it was bad enough that, you know, Master was looking a little rough. I don't think we're gonna say got demoted to Emerald quite yet, but you know, certainly, you know, add a warning here of getting demoted to Emerald from that game. I think obviously both teams are here and having a little bit of a fun one this time around. Game 3 will either be even more unhinged or we'll get back to business as usual. I'm hoping we get something a little more unhinged, but that's again because I'm here for the cheap entertainment.
Yeah, and you get it for free when you stick around. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back at you with game 3, and you can enjoy it just like we are. Alrighty, and welcome back into draft for game 3, our final game of the series, determining if Raiders are going to be able to secure that second seed or not. Already immediately locking the Yone, showing full confidence after that last game.
Yeah, we didn't see the Yone last game. We have Jonathan. We saw John Yasuo last game. Now we have James Yone in this game. As we are gonna see what the Raiders can do for it. I don't know if it's gonna be Enders playing the Yone. I don't think that's in the cards, but certainly something to consider for top and mid as the Mel, Sonor, Honk, me. Mel champion getting locked in here for the Wizards, sort of indicating that maybe the Wizards might be looking for something a little more stable and human this game, while the Raiders are looking for something else. And the Wizards gonna lock in the Udyr, and that's a good champion. That's a good champion, I think, me personally, but doesn't really reveal a whole lot about what they're thinking with their composition, because Udyr is certainly a flexible champion, can play in a lot of different game styles and a lot of different team styles. So I'm interested to see what they decide to do with that. Maybe less of, obviously, I think it's going to be less aggro and early game oriented. Meanwhile, the Raiders have continued to throw caution to the wind, as they have locked in Rumble alongside Amumu and are drafted a pretty nasty ultimate combo composition.
Yeah, and I'm liking it so far. Big team fights, big picks. Do you see the Udyr and the Garen potentially locked in? Wizards going for the Snore special this game, as opposed to the excitement, the dancing that Raiders want to do. We just got the run at you champions.
Yeah, we've got people running at us this game. And now it's time for the second round of bans here. Gonna be looking to potentially pinch out some of those. Assuming this is not like some funky Enders in the kitchen kind of gameplay. I think that we're gonna see something very interesting coming out from sort of just trying to pinch some of those AD carry options. Obviously, the Raiders as well need to consider that, as both teams have not picked their bot lane yet, unless this is a Mel bot lane. The Wizards going to be looking to pinch some of those supports away from Boulder, respecting Boulder's power as a gamer here. But I will say the Braum is available this game. Don't know how it really plays with either team, but Braum is certainly a good champion. I feel like the Raiders would be okay to get it, depending on what the Wizards pick up here as their first choice.
Yeah, and right now, I imagine we'd want to pick up carry. Wizards, lots of teams, especially at the higher end of these leagues, what they like to do, they like to save that support counter pick, right? They like to see, and they like to round up their comps, and that's exactly what we're seeing again, going for the Kai'Sa. So really, operating a short-range bot lane into the Yone Amumu is certainly ballsy. I like to see it, and Anders has been playing pretty well, all things considered, so I'm not too shocked to see it locked in once again.
Yeah, not too shocking to see that. Now the ball's in the court of the Raiders here, as they are gonna potentially lock in the Lucian. This does
okay,
still
haven't seen that one
maybe,
in a while.
Yeah, Lucian is very interesting. We did see it paired with Nami in
no shot.
Premiere.
No shot. They're messing with us. They have to be messing with us.
I mean, Yuumi Rumble is kind of nasty. I'm not gonna say
oh
this.
My lord.
Yuumi is kind of nasty with all of these champions.
Dude, we're just having fun. No, don't make an excuse. We're just having fun with it at this point.
No, you don't get it. You don't see the vision.
Come on, let me see the crank.
We're cranking it. Are we cranking it?
We're cranking it. We're blitz cranking it.
Oh,
I'm cranking my blitz right now.
All right, but actually, aside from Lucian, who are you pulling? I feel like Yone, Rumble, and Amumu are all pretty okay with getting pulled into your team, and yeah, that makes more sense. That's a better option.
Acceptable.
Yeah. I think the Karma is good here. It denies a lot of that upfront burst from the Rumble and the Yone, and it enables Udyr and Garen to do a lot more in fights with the Mantra Shields. We've seen Karma do a whole lot this season in various compositions, especially as the Wizards have certainly spec'd into running at you very quickly at incredible high speeds. I think Sivir could have potentially enabled the running at you at incredible high speeds, but Master is certainly better on the Kai'Sa, so glad to see that. The Yuumi, I think the Raiders have come to the function with a very ambitious composition. I don't know if it matches up well into the Wizards and their more regular composition, though.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point I don't even care. It just feels like we're having fun. Like this feels like another banger of a game. And honestly, this entire series has been banger after banger. Been super fun to watch. Been super fun to cast. And I'm hoping that Game 3 lives up to the expectations once again. But for right now, gonna cut to a short break. When we come back, gonna be in game for Game 3. Don't go anywhere. All right, and welcome back in a game. Oh my lord!
Ah! All
Okay,
right,
we're
never
good. We're
mind. It was a
chilling. We're chilling.
prank.
We're chilling.
It was a prank.
We're
Get
getting
pranked,
pranked.
idiot.
You're watching Kurt Prank with Justin Kurt Prank. Shout out anyone who remembers that.
And what is not a prank, though, is this game 3 of this decisive series here between Raiders and Wizards in Blue Water Draft League Sapphire Division. The Raiders all fighting for their life to secure that second seed. Meanwhile, the Wizards going to try and kick the ladder down and keep the Raiders out of that spot. Very exciting stuff, I think, for all of our teams currently. Both of these teams currently competing here. Obviously, less at stake for the Wizards, who secured first seed already. But for the Spartans, they're fighting for their life here, and just not really their life necessarily. They're in playoffs, but fighting for that second seed is pretty important for them. And, could set the momentum here if they get a big win over the Wizards, who have been relatively hard to crack this split. Gonna mean a lot if the Raiders can make it happen. And they've certainly got a fascinating composition to try and make that happen, as Neversaw might be in danger.
Yeah, and a little bit of an early invade coming out. Neversaw getting run down on that Yone. Lots of damage coming through. One more auto would have done it, but Neversaw makes it out alive, only being forced to use the flash.
Yeah, I think obviously not dying there is pretty good, but having to flash this early and importantly, may have to burn we'll have to burn the TP as well to get back to the lane fast enough. Is going to be pretty big. This Yone is not going to be feeling so hot here, especially considering how oppressive in lane Mel tends to be. But otherwise, interesting. One of the interesting champions this game. Something that, in the pre-draft plan, the Wizards said, just ban Yuumi, they're bad. So Yuumi's here. This is the Yuumi, the AFK Boulder Yuumi that apparently strikes fear into the hearts of men, women, and children, presumably. This is gonna be interesting to see how they can make the Yuumi work. I know that you're not a big fan of it, but personally, I think of maybe I'm just thinking of Yuumi at her strongest, but I think of Yuumi with the champions that the Raiders have, and I'm like, wait, she's pretty good, I feel. She's pretty okay, unless Enders takes a lot of pain here. Oh, that's 2 subs getting burned already. Not looking so hot.
Yeah. Not too bad, but when you have the 4 combat sums, it's a benefit that, it's like, okay, we can use them a bit more liberally. But taking a trade where you have to use 2 sums and your opponents don't have to use any is a bit dangerous. However, Master, the heal coming in late and the cleanse not being able to save it means Ianders picks up first blood.
Yeah. Ianders will be walking away with first blood there. Pretty big stuff for the Raiders here, and especially for Enders. As Lucian, you really want to get the kind of early laning lead, and this is a good way to get that started. Coming back to lane with boots and a longsword both. Gonna allow him to move around a lot more efficiently, even if his damage may not be as large. Reaper's Blade saying goodbye to your tiny tornado, as we'll be deflecting that, keeping themselves safe. Unsurprisingly, the Yone kind of struggling a bit into Mel, who's a very strong laner. Spartan looking for something.
Yep, going in the bot lane, Spartan going to be able to land a second bandage shot, and Ianders now 2-0, picking up the second one. Master and Luke have to be careful. Spartan looking for a little bit more. Master forced to use the cleanse and the flash to get out, burning down. Flash from Ianders and another E can be able to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, Spartan getting run down by the lightning strikes of Luke, who's going to back himself up to the Scuttle Crab and run away with the kill. But 3-0 Ianders putting in the work right now.
Yeah. 3 Ianders looking very good for themselves. Must have been Ianders has been fighting Master here to prove that they are the best AD carry in the split. And it all comes down to this.
You doing all right there?
Sorry. There's a ruling question, and
Oh yeah, I remember seeing
our league operator is not here. And as it turns out, the other two people who are operating the league are
are
currently
also the
here
people
in
who
the call
casting. Yeah.
casting live. So, I'm kind of like trying to think about other
Well,
things.
yeah.
You wanna hold it down for a little bit while I go.
We're holding it down. You go deal with that. Yeah, as we were talking about, big 3-0 right now, up with a big lead. Luke getting that kill, gonna be nice, gonna allow him to clear slightly faster, especially when both these junglers, you know, they are the Ashes junglers. They both clear very fast, but just a little bit of an extra boost for Luke there. In addition, gonna make those skirmishes a bit stronger, right? The Mumu early on does quite a bit of damage, but not as much as the Udyr. It's mostly about lockdown. It's mostly about setting up for your team. We do have a nice lead in this top side in terms of health, potentially leading into something, but both teams are positioning around the drag right now. That's what they want to go for. You can see Spartan going to try and find something in the mid lane. Reaper, that's not where you want to go. That's not how the reflection works. Going to pull him back in and, you know, not bad. Spartan doesn't have the ult yet, but I can't help but imagine that Reaper actually pulled himself into a bit of a worse position. However, the Wizards were first on the drag, do have the push in bot side. Meanwhile, a solo kill up in the top side. Juan using both summoners and the equalizer, forcing out everything from CB Batman and inevitably winning out under the enemy tower. Gonna grab that and take a back for himself. Wizards up the dragon, but Raiders been doing a really good job in this game. Already up 1,500 gold going into this Grubs fight.
Yeah. Right, coming back here, the Raiders, you know, one cake looking pretty good, getting that kill up there, looking good for themselves. Iander still holding it down very well in the bot lane here. Master having to kind of, you know, feeling real sad for themselves. Luke getting jumped on in the jungle.
Yeah, Luke low, but God, that extra shield from the turtle sense is just so strong. Reaper's Blade doing a good job. Luke gonna get stunned up, but has to be careful. Never saw it. Does still have another Q3, but 21's first on the rotation.
Boulder is here.
Actually, probably could have went in on that instead. Luke has to be careful as he walks back in. Never Saw's here, looking for a little bit extra. Reaper pops the Hamel ultimate, but Spartan and Never Saw are both still alive, and I feel like Never Saw was a little bit too scared of that fight. Probably could have picked up some kills if they really wanted to.
Yeah, could have picked up something, but at the very least, you know, both teams kind of end that exchange at a relatively even state. Luke is going to head up to take the first round of Grubbins. That'll be 2 neutral objectives going over to the side of the Wizards. Seeing a bit of a repeat of last game where the Wizards was just running the map in terms of neutral objectives, but Spartan was doing pretty well for themselves in terms of making the map, making the lane states more favorable. And I think when you have the Lucian here, you definitely want to play into that strength. You want to try and, you know, help the Yone out of the early game, you know, a little bit of rough spot he has. Help the Lucian really pressure that bot lane lead. And now it's just going to come down to what the team can make happen and if they can start converting onto some of those neutral objectives as the game continues. Because one of the big problems the Raiders ran into last game was the fact that Wizards did get that Dragon Soul. They were able to get the 6 grubs and get a lot of turret pushing pressure when they found the ability to actually hit turrets. So, something to consider. Never Saw getting forced to flash by Reaper's Blade. Master and 21 moving around the map, realizing that bot lane is kind of a lost cause, but unfortunately not getting a whole lot out of that movement. It's going to put Master in a bit of a hole.
Yeah, and it's going to try and struggle to get out of that. Oh, solo kill in the mid lane. Reaper takes out Never Saw with the ultimate. Never Saw even flashing. Are we cutting back or... Oh, yeah, okay. We got the instant replay going?
It's game 3. We can get the replays.
We can get the replays. All right, hell yeah, I'm down. Looks like there was a fight over here. So you can see Spartan goes over the wall. Never Saw trying to clear out the wave. Gonna use the Q3 to try and get it, but gets rooted by Reaper's Blade, who's just gonna combo it out and use the ult to finish it off. Oh boy. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal for sure. So we got to see that. Thank you, Shivam, for showing us that.
We got the instant replay going.
Now, I get it is game 3. We don't have to wait. The players don't have to wait for us anymore, so we can take a look at whatever we really want to if we miss something like that. But good play from Reaper's Blade, who has been definitely sort of not the favored mid laner in this game. Neversaw has been a force to be reckoned with this entire split. Arguably our best mid laner, up there with, you know, Bob Robertson, who is on an arguably worse team than Neversaw is on, and holding it down fairly well, and Neversaw as well doing very good for themselves this split and this game. Doing all right, but certainly could be doing better. Spartan getting found.
Yep, and caught out as well. Reaper's going to pick up another kill, 2-0 now. Pretty strong on that Mel, and that's looking like a pretty good win condition with how far Master's gotten put behind. Making sure that your Mel is getting a lot of these kills, can be able to spread a lot of damage and do an absolute ton with that ultimate in these team fights. Can be able to get the executes, can be able to put a lot of pressure onto Ianders every time they dash in.
Yeah, you don't really think of Mel as that kind of big win condition champion. She has good buttons, she has good landing, and she certainly has a lot of utility, but she's not one of those champions that you think of, oh yeah, she's going to hard carry this game. So we're going to see if Reaper's Blade can make it happen here. Certainly in a spot to do so, but Ender's also in a great spot still currently. 3-0, up 20 CS. Was only able to get 1 plate in the bot side, though. Feel like could have potentially looked for more, as Neversaw is going to be the target once again.
Yeah, and once again, they're going to be able to turn it. Neversaw putting themselves on the board. Ianders dashing forward just does so much damage with this Lucian Yuumi combo. And you can really see Raiders starting to come online, right? A little shaky at the start. You know, they got a bunch of kills and then sort of falters off with a couple of those jungle fights. But now they're getting a lot of value off of this. Do need to, again, focus on the objectives, though. It's something that they've sort of been struggling with all series, and you can already see the Wizards sort of looking towards that bot side, looking towards that dragon. But Raiders really want this. They want to be able to stack these. They want to be able to use this early Lucian lead and transition before they get outscaled.
Yeah, they really do need to start looking to utilize that, and they're doing a good job of it, moving Lucian around with the Yuumi. Sort of as this two-headed giant around the map. Cho'Gall, those of you who played HOTS may feel a little something. I don't know if it's indigestion, but...
Batman. Oh!
Batman.
Luke takes out the kill.
Yeah, a little ambitious there from One Cake. Blowing Flash and the Ignite there on both sides, actually. Luke sort of turning the tables on that, but of course the Demacian Justice will turn some tables on its own. Ender's culling here. Not going to get a lot. Drake will get picked up, but that's going to be 6 Grubbins going over to the Wizards once again.
Yeah, and Neversaw going in, trying to get some damage on Reaper's Blade under tower. Does have to be careful. The Yuumi emote, seeing just how much damage that Mel does, and yeah, you got to put some respect on Reapers right now.
Yeah, Reapers is very dangerous. But Spartan might be even more dangerous.
Gets some good damage down, gets the Cursed Sad Mummy, might just be able to take him out all by
themselves. Amumu clears.
Amumu clears.
Amumu
best champion in the game, baby.
Boom, 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 boom.
Gotta get the beautiful 2009 animation, whatever beta was. Yeah. 2010 animations. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's classic Amumu. The only thing that could be better than classic Amumu is, of course, Vancouver Amumu. Looking fantastic these days, you know. Just an ugly, disgusting skin that is one of my favorites because I have it. This epic stuff. You getting flexed on by Vancouver Amumu is humiliating. You never want to be that guy. But, you know, good stuff from Spartan, kind of exploiting Reaper's Blade being just a bit too far forward there, and Neversaw being a good juicy target, luring Reaper's Blade forward. Right now we have about 3 minutes, 20 seconds onto the next Drake, so no major objectives coming up. We do have the Herald at 15. That is something to consider. So we'll see if either team is going to look for that, as we have we've got a fight here.
Yep, Luke going for the stun, but yeah, they're scared to dive on. They know just how much damage that Rumble can do if you don't respect it. ZB Batman wasting the spin. Juan just getting so many of those what is it, the shock spear, whatever it's called?
Shock harpoon.
Shock harpoon. All right, it's it's hard to tell because the Super Galaxy Rumble is like the default skin. I'm so used
Super
to
Galaxy Comeback Break.
Super Galaxy Combat Breaker.
I hate Super Galaxy Rumble so much.
But
It's so
every
funny.
other Rumble skin is so unplayable.
Yeah, it is true.
Actually, Badlands Rumble is pretty dope. I'll give it to Badlands Rumble. Getting the Mad Max mech is pretty cool, but the skin particle, the way the skin feels is so clean, but the voice is just, after like the 50th time hearing it, you're just like, dude, you are
bravery shield.
You are not that guy, bro. Audacious bravery
drill
shield.
finale.
I can hear it so well, too.
Yeah, we can't hear. We don't get the sound effects, at least in the Discord stream. At least I don't. I might just have it muted. But you know, yeah. I can hear it. I can hear him. I can hear Rumble in my head.
I don't know what this guy's trying to do, bro. You are not Simon. You are not Kamina. You are not that guy.
It rocks, though. It rocks. It
is.
I know it's annoying, but yeah, it is. Like, if you want to have like a good gameplay experience, you have to use the skin. It's tragic.
Skin,
it's one of those skins where the champion is non-functional without it.
If you lose a game on Super Galaxy Rumble, you're forced to watch the entirety of Gurren Lagann over again, just to remind yourself.
Yeah.
Gotta drill towards the stars.
You gain more power that way for sure. That aside, we've got a minute 10 on the next Drake now. Harold's gonna be coming up now. That's 16 minutes, not 15. My apologies. Rift Herald has spawned. That could be something, especially if the Wizards can get it with the 6 Grubbins, could be something to really kind of level out the playing field in this game. Although the Wizards did get the first turn of the game, Neversaw continues to just get, you know, the tornado blown back at him every single time on the Yone. Yone, unfortunately, getting turned everything on his head for Neversaw. Yeah. She's maybe struggling a little bit, but yeah, Dragon's up in 30.
And you see all of the Raiders rotating down. They want to make this a full 5v5 team fight, and I think they can win. See if they spot out Luke though, who's in the back, and if they spot him out early, they might be able to take the collapse. And Luke shows himself potentially jumping the gun a little bit. Now the TP back from Neversaw. A lot of cooldowns being used just to zone her out. Anders pushing in that wave. Spartan gonna pick up another camp just for the hell of it before walking into the river.
I mean, why not? Amumu takes that camp in particular like lightning quick, so it's just like it's free money, and it does actually heal you at least a little bit. So Spartan's gonna look for something.
Completely zoned off here. Oh, completely alone. They're not able to land anything else. Gonna force the flash out, but Neversaw with no Fate Seal. Now flash in from Luke to Anderson. Beautiful Curse of the Sad Mummy onto 2. Reaper trying to get a little bit of damage back, but it's not gonna be enough. Iander's absolutely tearing through this fight as Juan finishes off the last member. A double kill for both the carries, and it is Ianders pushing in the mid lane, wanting a little bit more. Master in 21 barely left alive as Raiders, off the back of an amazing Curse of the Sad Mummy, take that fight and take the dragon.
Yeah, fantastic fight there from the Raiders. It was looking a little iffy because they had burned so much onto CB Batman, who was a single gamer, and the Wizards looked like they had a pretty good angle, but unfortunately the Wizards don't really have that great of engage tools. They run at you, but once they get on you, there's really not a whole lot of hard lockdown. And meanwhile, the Raiders have lockdown in spades with the Amumu. And Spartan found a fantastic angle there with the Flash Curse of the Sad Mummy, hitting 3 with the Rumble ulti already down, allowed for so much free damage, and it just became really easy for Enders and Wancake to clean that up. And that just sets up for the Raiders to get their second Drake, getting another couple turrets for themselves, and getting a decent gold lead now. 4K up for themselves. And they're feeling pretty good about that for sure. Ender's now on 2 items. Rumble pretty close to finishing second item here. Meanwhile, Kaisa still only on an item and a third. We'll have to see if that makes a difference. We do have an engage onto the Rumble.
Yeah, has to be careful, but Spartan's here to back up his top laner once again.
Like advantage.
The classic. Not going to be able to land that last bandage off on Batman.
Anders.
Anders is here, and he wants the speed, throwing out the calling, getting a lot of damage down. Lots of movement speed, though, thanks to 21. CB Batman, though, you are not Lizzo. You're not going to one-shot the carry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we saw Lizzo throw his life away several times on Garen last time we saw it on stream. Although I don't remember if he played it the last time he was on stream for like Imperials, but you know the famously when he threw a 10k gold lead earlier in the split on stream, you know, that was a Lizzo Garen moment, but yeah, that's not looking great. And CB Batman once again kind of struggling this game to really show, you know, CB Batman really one of the draft champions, a very well-respected at top lane gamer, but has been struggling in this series to really showcase much of that. Luke is gonna leash the Ravenous Atacon, but without any fellow teammates, it just is gonna take far too long, and they realize that it's better to just hold off on that until they get a better window of opportunity. But the opportunity might knock for the side of the Raiders. They do have Enders and Yuumi on the bot side. They have Wancoke, and that is with the three of them, they've got a lot of damage here. And yeah, they're gonna go ahead and leash that up. I think the Wizards have to be aware of this. They did see a Mumu in the jungle. They saw him at least kind of on a ward there, so they know that a Mumu is down there, but they're not gonna really go any further. So that's gonna be Ruinous Otacon going over to the side of the Raiders here. On the other side, CB Batman's going to try and get that inner turret. Will likely succeed. It's going to be close. Might have to wait for the next wave, but yeah, we'll just go ahead and pick that one up for themselves, and that's going to be the response. Will it be enough here? That's a lot of damage from Ruinous Otacon on the side of the Raiders, who already have a lead.
Yeah, and they're pushing it. They wanna make themselves known. They want to hand Wizards their first loss. And they're doing a pretty good job at it right now. Luke and Reaper desperately trying to hang on, but the rest of the team just falling a little bit short, having a really hard time here. Already 5 kills on the Lucian. Never saw, you know, you can see the bounty just from farming the entire game, slowly working out those leads, as she tends to do. The rest of the team doing so well as well. Juan, super far ahead on this Rumble. Right, the Amumu 1 and 2, but has a 6 assists, just being a team fight bot right now. Looking forward, needs one more bandage just to try and find the rest, but gonna get slowed up by that storm from the Phoenix Stance.
Yeah,
45 seconds to drag too.
Yeah, the Phoenix Storm is gonna be enough of a zoning tool to keep Enders and Spartan both back there. But, you know, forcing the issue there and chunking out Reaper's Blade here is going to force a recall. Reaper's does have the TP, so we'll be able to TP back to the Dragon before that really becomes an issue. But honestly, I feel like if you're the Wizards here, you kind of just want to stall, because, you know, you're going to force somebody to contest CB Batman up on the top side, and then you're going to try and take a 4v4. I think the 4v4 is certainly not favorable for the Wizards, but, you know, it could be worse, I guess. Man, I don't know. The idea, obviously, is to just kind of stall and split on the side, but they're going to abandon that line of play as they're going to look to flip the Drake. Luke is going to get in the pit.
Yep, and it will be the take from Luke, who manages to get the Hextech drag, and now is forced away. Gonna try and use the Storm to get the slow onto Juan. Juan gonna land the Lightning Spears, but it's not gonna be enough to land him down. And once again, Luke getting away with murder on some of these objectives.
Yeah, Luke getting a fantastic steal there. Spartan just a little slow on that smite, getting denied on that. Great work from Luke, and of course the escape on that as well. Did have to burn the flash, but you are okay with that, as considering that you got another Drake in your pocket, which both stops the Raiders from getting that soul point and also sets yourself up to potentially get soul point off the next one. if you end up in a better spot. Remember, the Wizards do have stronger scaling potential here with the Kaisa in particular. The Karma as well certainly, actually, unlike other supports, does utilize those items. Granted, Yuumi is another one of those supports that does like to have items, as Enders might be getting caught.
Yeah, and the flash forward, CB Batman gonna land the kill, and this might be the fight the Wizards were looking for. 3 already down, Juan the next one to fall. Spartan and Neversaw, the last 2 alive, desperately trying to fight their way out of this, but they're caught between a rock and 23 hard places. Nice Curse of the Sad Mummy from Spartan. Gonna
No way!
Master dashes into it! Reaper eventually gonna be able to take out Neversaw, but Master with a massive fumble there. Gonna give an extra kill over. And don't get me wrong, Wizards found a good fight, but really misplayed the back end of it.
Yeah, that looked like it was so great at the start. Enders got caught out so quickly. Yuumi was not able to remount onto another champion, was taken out as well. That is a ton of power removed from this comp. But somehow, Spartan, with the Curse of the Sad Mummy and Neversaw, just with good spacing and heads-up play, is able to flip it back around and at least get a couple more off the back of that catch out. So while it still is a win for the Wizards, it's much less of a win than they would have liked, except Enders might be dead again.
We're just gonna calling the wave?
Classic Enders. Classic Enders has returned.
Okay. Now there's the Enders we all know and love.
Yeah, this is the guy we expected to see. Unfortunately for the Raiders, Enders is kind of making some illegal moves, I think. Just some bizarre choices here in the mid game. And that's going to open up a window for the 26-minute Baron. Spartan is up, doesn't have the Curse of the Sad Mummy. They also do have, they've got all the ultis all their damage ultis from their solo lanes. We'll see if they can make it happen.
Yep, already on the Baron, gonna see if they can land a Sun. Spartan not able to find their way into the pit, walks in, isn't able to land the Smite. You are not Luke. And now the Demacian just comes down. 2 kills already taken out. And with Enders and AFK Boulder already dead from the previous fight, it's gonna be really hard for them to try and fight this back. Luke going a bit far forward. Neversaw trying to find the kill. Will be able to take out Luke before they go down. Enders desperately trying, but AFK Boulder wasn't there in time, and Master picks up the triple. The double. What are we doing? Wizard, are we actually gonna manage to throw this game?
That would be very unfortunate.
Raiders managing to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory right here.
Yeah, back to Honkai Star Rail with you, I guess. I know you picked Yuumi so you could be grinding some mats while on your other monitor while playing the game, but gotta get your head in this one. It is very unfortunate. I really don't know what's happened with the Raiders in the past, 5-10 minutes. They've been throwing the game away here. They've just been getting caught out too egregiously, or, going in too early. I think with that Baron flip, obviously it certainly is possible. They did still have the Equalizer, they still had the Fate Unsealed, so they had a couple of different tools to allow them to fight that out. But without the Curse of the Sad Mummy, it makes it so much harder to actually get that lockdown that you need to make those tools as effective as they can be. And it also doesn't help that Spartan missed the bandage toss onto the Baron, threw out the bandage to try and hit somebody on the Wizards to get into the pit. But if you just wait a little bit longer, you can just walk up to the side of the pit and throw it at the Baron. That might have allowed Spartan to get the steal, but in any case, even with that steal, I still think the fight goes as sideways as it does. The Enders arrives to try and flip that, but without Boulder, doesn't have the survivability to fight Master, who is now on 2 items, 2 2/3 of items, and evolved here, looking pretty strong, but you gotta pick.
Yeah, and 21, the first to get picked off in the fight. Luke going forward to try and get some stuns, but now caught in the middle of 3, forced to flash away.
Meanwhile, back in base.
Meanwhile, you got CB Batman pulling off a Neversaw right now. Juan gonna be able to get away and survive, meaning that they're probably gonna be able to take out the rest of it. So much damage coming through, though. Reaper's Blade absolutely tearing through this fight.
Wait, they're all dead!
Picks up another one. They're all dead. Are we going forward? Reaper's Blade is TPing in. They want to end this game. have the Raiders just thrown it away. Absolutely insane carry from Reaper's Blade right now, tearing through it. Master with all of the kills. One tower goes down. CB Batman's still alive. No one else is up. It's just a matter of time before the towers go down, and Wizards with a flawless season in the Blue Auto Draft League Sapphire division. Reaper's Blade and Master absolutely carrying the back end of that game. What an end to the series.
Wow. Reaper's Blade went nuts so crazy there. Absolutely bonkers bananas. Capitalizing, and really the Wizards did what they did best throughout this series and what they've done best throughout the season, and that is capitalize on mistakes. This is Draft League. You're going to have teams making mistakes. Nobody plays perfectly, even at the highest levels, and especially not in draft. And the Wizards are so good at getting the most out of those little mistakes. We saw so many times there, so many split fights from the side of the Raiders in this game in particular, or just egregious moments of getting caught. Enders in particular has to be, you know, just was a throw artist this game. I don't know what else to say. Just was a throw artist. Masterfully threw this game into the garbage can. It was such a successful throw that, you know, when my students try and throw trash into the trash can from across the room, if they land it, I have a correct buzzer that I hit for them to give that. I'm mashing that button. You did great throwing that game, Enders. But really the rest of the Wizards did so well in terms of just capitalizing on mistakes, and Reaper's Blade as well, always being in the right place at the right time, and utilizing all the buttons that this champion has to absolutely obliterate the side of the Raiders. Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And just overall, Wizards doing such a good job showing why they're a flawless team in this season, right? They work so well together, right? Even, you know, sometimes it feels like they're a little bit disconnected, but they always bring it back. They always feel like in the end, you can rely on each other as a team. And at the end of the day, that's really what a draft league is all about, right? Coming together as a team after everything and just pushing your way through it. And it really does feel like that's what the Wizards have done this season. And all things considered, I think they should be very confident going into playoffs, especially after this series.
Yeah. And I think they got to feel confident. Of course, the Raiders, I think, had some great moments. We saw a lot of what they did well this season as well, in terms of making huge victories, especially off of Neversaw, who has been looking great. Boulder as well, looking pretty great. But this series, I feel like we wanted to see more from Neversaw, who sort of underperformed, relatively speaking, especially in Game 3. But I will say, I was impressed with Spartan. Spartan has been kind of a liability in some series for the Raiders, but really did show up this series to try and hold the team together. So gotta commend that. Gotta commend it where I see it. I think it's certainly, obviously this loss hurts, but there's a lot to learn from it. I think that the Raiders can go back into the tank and in playoffs can make a huge push for those finals. That, or we can just go back to Honkai Star Rail, I suppose. But if you, in our audience, are looking at this draft action and thinking to yourself, man, how do I draft? How do I participate in drafting? Well, you got that every game in League of Legends, baby. And if you want to do it better, there's nothing else other than procomps.gg. That's right, procomps.gg is a drafting assistant designed for League of Legends gameplay by League of Legends gamers to make your League of Legends experience primo, gourmet, the best it can be. That's right, when you use procomps.gg, you have live drafting advice to make sure your drafting picks and bans are as good as humanly possible, using filters and strategic suggestions to make your opponents as awful as possible. If you're working together as a team, perhaps in a pre-made league, you can even generate champion pools to allow you to see what do you have in your availability across your team at a moment's notice. Share these pools with your friends. This is great for if you're going into Clash or, again, an amateur league like this. Create your teams sync your pools together. You can even draft across different devices, so you don't have to do everything on your singular computer. If you have a laptop from 2007 that you use to play League of Legends in Siberia, you can use your mobile device to operate procomps.gg, and that is certainly excellent. So, if you want to join the many people who currently use it, the 280,000 downloads, thousands of daily active users, make sure to go to procomps.gg or use our link to get to that. It's entirely free. It's all up to you to click that button and get that downloaded. So make sure you do that if you want to amp up your draft gameplay. But before we close out, anything you want to say before to close out the night?
No, just that we'll be back next week for Gauntlet. And quite honestly, it should be really exciting. We have, what in my opinion is a bit of a better Gauntlet format, the classic LCS Gauntlet format. It's gonna be 8 plays 7, 7 plays 6, 6 plays 5, etc., etc. Until we determine the last 2 slots. So if any of our 8th place teams think they can run the Gauntlet, Snakes and Falcons, you know, 0-7 to you. But for the rest of the teams, they're gonna have a bit of a harder time. So we should have that done by tonight. There's a lot of ties too for those lower seeds tonight, so it is going to depend on how the rest of these games turn out.
Wait, are you telling me we aren't doing the Gauntlet tonight? I thought we were going till like 4 a.m. The Gauntlet's not tonight. What's going on?
No, we learned from God, you scared me. I'm like, please tell me we're not doing that. No, we learned. Here at the Blue Dot Draft League, we learned from our mistakes. And our mistake was, yeah, I'm not doing that shit till 5 in the morning again. We had to tag out 2 people. Someone filled in for you, and then Chelsea had to come in for them.
Yeah, God. Yeah, it was real bad.
I went through 3 people that night. I was a goat, so I held on.
Yeah, but that's all right. We'll be back next week for the Gauntlet. So have a great night, everyone. We will see you all then.